undesignated. Now, this slide showed the different types of reports that you get. You get the adopted budget early in the year. Then you get the first interim, the second interim, the third interim, and then the unaudited actuals. And I'm not really sure what their point was by sharing this particular piece of information, because what it shows is how inaccurate their projections were. Now, I understand that it's going to be inaccurate. You do a budget and you don't really know how much is coming in. You don't really know in the end how much is exactly going out. So it's going to be some inaccuracy. By the end, the adopted budget thought that the decrease in the general fund was going to be about $4 million. By the first interim, they were down to about $1 million, just a little less than $1 million in the second interim, almost 14,000 down by the third interim. And the third interim is a report that you're given in May. So there's 1 month of school left in the year. And to me, by the third interim, when you've got 1 month left, you should know how much money you're going to have left over. What ended up actually happening is that the general fund increased by $1.6 million. All of these projections were wrong. The budget one was incredibly wrong. All of them said that you were going to be decreasing your fund budget, and in actuality, you didn't. I believe that smoke and mirrors is something that is used to try and tell the community and to tell your labor groups, we just can't afford. We just can't afford. Look at this. We're deficit spending. These are the third interims, and it says budget savings. Past unrestricted budget savings. All of these are third interims over the years from 2005 to 2011. And what it shows is that the third interim predicted that you'd be down this much. By the actual, you were actually up this much. You were off by 1.8 million. The third interim, you were off by 816 in 2006-07 from what the actuals were. 2007-08, third interim, remember that's that May report where people should know what the end is going to be. The third interim said it was going to be down 800,000. It was actually down 232, a difference of 603. 2008-09, it was really close. You were only $88,000 off. And then 2009-10, you were off by nearly 2 million. And 10-11, 415,000. I think it's sad that the third interim would be off by so much. A lot of times, however, we are still bargaining at the time that that third interim comes out, and it's pretty convenient to say, well, look, we're going to be losing money. I don't even know why you show multi-year projections. I don't think that they could be accurate. But I do want to show the trend in this district is to always have the absolute worst case scenario, that over the multi-year trends, they always have to, it's a requirement by law, you have to do them. I'm not sure why you even look at them after you've put them on paper. Okay, the ending fund balance in 2011-12, at the time of this report, they expected it to be 8 million left over. In 12-13, 5 million. In 13-14, just about 2 million. In actuality, that's what happened those 3 years. That's how bad those multi-year projections are, and they've always been bad. This one's not nearly as bad as one that happened, I don't know if you guys remember Mark Allgaier, but he had one that was like $40 million off. So here's the ending fund balance trend from 2009 until 2021. That red block, the reason I have it highlighted is because that year is the year that that report I just showed you was about. And they had been predicting, talking about deficit spending, oh my goodness, we're going down, we're going down. Every year, every one of these years, we were told deficit spending. And you've gone from 9.4 million in 2009 to 63 million last year, leftover money. Imagining $11 million, it's kind of a hard thing to do. So I'm going to relate it to time because I think we can understand time a little bit better. And let's say that you have a job that pays you $1 a minute. 1 hour, you'd get $60. So a 3-hour and 20-minute board meeting would be $200. If you guys could keep it to 320, it'd be just what you get paid. An 8-hour day would be 480. 5 days a week, or 5 days would be 2,400. 1 year, going by a 52-week year, would be 124,800. Not bad. If you worked that job $1 a minute for 8 years, that would be $1 million. But you don't have just $1 million left over. The DEU would cost 24 years. But that's not $1 million. That $9 million left over all the way on the left side of the graph there is 72 years. That'd take us back to 1950. Some people call those the good old days. I disagree. That 11 million from that year that I was talking about would take us back to 1934, which is right before my dad was born. The 31 million that was an ending fund balance one time would be 1773. I imagine going back there and telling Benjamin all about what shooting in schools is like, and maybe something would be different in the Constitution. 63 million. That's what you have left over from last year right now, besides whatever revenue you've gotten this year. 504 years, taking you to 1518. It's when the Spanish conquered the Aztec Empire. It's when Martin Luther was excommunicated for questioning the Catholic Church and started Protestant churches all over. Meanwhile, the teacher's salary over this time from 15 to 1920 has remained below average for all other districts and unified districts in this state. The balance on this increased 600% over that time. I was told that, oh my gosh, the district is suffering because it's having to pay so much more in benefits. However, if you notice along that line there, it has remained at exactly $9,084 a year per teacher because they haven't increased, or you haven't increased our cap during that whole time. Here's what we pay. In 2009, it was costing $13,800 $836 per year for healthcare. Now, I want to just say that everybody has different plans they can pick, such as I take one of the lower plans, a Plan 8. My husband had 2 hip surgeries. I was in a car accident and got in the hospital. Big year, but regardless of the plan, you either pay it in premiums or you pay it in your deductible and your co-pays and all of that. So I'm just calling it health care rather than insurance. So that has gone up to $28,872 a year. That's the amount that is paid to any board member who is receiving health benefits from the district for serving. You probably didn't know you were making $28,872, but you are. This red bar is how much is left over when you take this bar out of a first-year teacher's salary. They start at about $54,000. You take out $28,872, and this is what you got left. And then taxes are taken out. Workers' comp, STRS. So the teacher contribution has increased by $15,000 a year. It's a 108% increase. The district's contribution has remained the same. And new teachers' insurance is more than half of their gross pay. Meanwhile, this was what's happening with the district. Do you know that if you did a one-time off-schedule pay increase of 100%, you would still have $40 million left? So during that same time, the district's balance increased 600%. And this is what's happening to your employees. The cost of housing is going up, whether you're renting or buying. The cost of food is going up. The price of healthcare is going up. The consumer price index, gas prices, electric prices, everything is going up so much more than it is for you. Not you personally, you the district. You're not out there trying to find a studio apartment for less than $2,000, but my son is. Hard worker, full-time job, he can't afford a studio apartment. And you have a teacher shortage all over the entire country. But you have $63 million sitting in the bank that could do something to attract those teachers. So we could have quality teachers to choose from, not just warm bodies. So here's what you can do. First, remember that retention is greater than hiring as far as the impact on the district. If you can manage to retain those of us who are here and stop us from quitting and retiring, that works the best. Train admin to be more supportive. A lot of the admin haven't had that much time in classrooms, and a lot of the admin are getting pressure themselves to do things that they don't necessarily want to do, but we need to have them be supportive, especially in evaluation. The purpose of evaluation is not to find what somebody's doing wrong. It's to find ways to help them be better. Stop saying self-care while you're adding additional work to us. Don't waste our time by getting input that's going to be ignored. We do not need to go to another meeting, even if it's on Zoom and I can do it from my bed. I don't need to be participating in something where my input's going to be ignored. Use teacher expertise to guide policy. We see how things impact children. We're there with them every day. We have expertise in how things can happen. Tell us what you want to happen and let us help you do it. Cover the cost of the bronze plan. That's what you get with Covered California, bare minimum bronze plan. If you covered that cost, I would drop over. But that would be incredible. And don't make us beg for COLA. You know that guy that came here and talked with you, did his whole presentation, and he was talking about how because of the STRS thing, and we don't know if the governor's gonna buy that down, so the cost is still gonna go up, and so the COLA's being eaten by that, and it's gonna be only 2%. You have $63 million. You can do a one-time buy down on that. Sorry. So this kind of go back to that bronze plan. Connect the healthcare cap to the cost of the bronze plan. So whatever the bronze plan is, that would be the district contribution. And then if anybody wants something better than the bronze plan, they can pay for that. Whoa, that went backwards fast. Grace disappeared. Okay. So grace. Don't require extra. Not every teacher right now needs to be evaluated. Staff meetings don't have to be an hour long. Find the good. On that evaluation thing, your principals know their teachers, and if there's somebody they're not real sure on, and so they would need to do an evaluation because they're probationary, they'll do that evaluation. But some old person like me that's been getting really good evaluations my entire time and doing a great job, I don't need to be observed, and she doesn't need that paperwork. Sorry, got personal. Let me go to the next one. Wow, now I'm going backwards again. Sorry. Here we go. Administrators need to be able to question the superintendent without fear. I don't know if you know this, Superintendent Asrani, but I see it. There are administrators who are afraid to question, to say, wait, that might not work, because they're afraid of you. And you don't want that. You don't want yes people. You want people to point out what the problem might be so you can fix it before it happens. Please be mindful of that. So here's my groundbreaking concept, truly working as a team. Let's have board closed session meetings with MUTA, and you can do it with other labor groups, to discuss bargaining topics. You should have all the information that you need when you're making decisions, and you're not getting all of it. If you have questions, you can contact me at this phone number, 530-301-0306. And yes, I know that went out to the internet. Hello, guys. I don't care. Everybody has my phone number. You can text me. Let me know if you want to call me. We'll make a time. My district email is ischlesler@mjusd.com, and my personal is ischlesler5@gmail.com. And that's the end of my presentation, but if anybody has any questions right now, you can let me know. I did make a recording of this information, and I will email it out to board members. Thank you.
So hopefully the board has some idea, some concept of what we're trying to get across to the board along the lines of the finances and the budget. Moving along from that, I did tell the board that we would have a second portion to our comments, and I will try to keep those short and sweet to the point since our presentation was a little longer. I don't think it will come to a surprise to anybody on the board, nor anybody else who has heard the union speak, nor heard me speak. But the informational item that comes further down in the agenda on the equity policy, I will tell you was disheartening at best. When the agenda came out on Thursday and I saw that the equity policy was back on the agenda, I was not surprised. In December, it was tabled for 2 months. I have heard pretty much crickets since then in regards to it. There were comments made about how every school site council was going to be able to have input into that before it was revised and brought to the board. I will tell you patently, with every fiber of my being, I can tell you that's 100% not true. Between the December meeting and this meeting, you had sites that didn't even have school site council meetings. You also have school sites in this district that you have people in the community as well as people on those staffs that can't even tell you who is on their school site council nor when they meet. And so I'm not sure that was a great avenue to begin with, but it wasn't even utilized to what it said it was going to be. On top of that, there's mention in the agenda that there was student input. I've asked about 50 students if they knew anything about the input, not getting real into a whole equity policy, but just asked them if they knew, from 3 different sites, not a clue. And so I will tell you that the revised policy that has come forward is insulting and degrading. The fact that the board or the district believes that your teachers, your professional educators are so clueless that they would not catch this is absolutely insulting. The fact that you thought your own community was also that clueless is degrading and insulting as well. And speaking as somebody who was born and raised here and somebody who still lives here, I can speak to that with all certainty. Also, as far as your equity policy is concerned, I think it's interesting that when I sat down over the weekend to try to come up with comments, because you'll notice I'm not reading from anything tonight, I couldn't for the life of me draft comments to come to the board tonight. I tried over and over and over again. I don't know how many times I started and stopped comments to the board, and finally gave up on Sunday night. And then yesterday was down at the union office and came across comments that I made to the board almost exactly 2 years ago to the day about an incident on a campus in this district that absolutely was repulsive and disgusting. And I will tell you that those comments ring just as true tonight as they did 2 years ago. You have 10,000 students and 1,000 educators in this district who are begging and pleading with you to do the right thing and to pass an equity policy that is beneficial to our students, to our teachers, to our programs. I don't think it's too much to ask that we actually do that, because the policy that you're trying to have information on in here tonight is stripped of equity. It's the most non-equity equity policy I've ever seen in my life. If you compare and contrast, you will see that there is very little, if anything, substantial left from the original equity policy. And so the comments that I made 2 years ago, you won't be surprised since you've heard me quote a lot of historical figures in the past, including last meeting when I quoted Wilma Mankiller to start off with. But I quoted Medgar Evers at length in my comments 2 years ago. Those of you that know me will remember, I taught history and English. Medgar Evers is somebody that I have admired for years now. He is a hero to me. And Medgar Evers made comments 60 years ago that still ring true here. He said that history has reached a turning point. That's it. It's where we are. History has reached a turning point. We had that turning point 2 years ago with an incident at a campus. We had that history a year and a half ago with an incident at our own campus, Marysville High School, where one of the young ladies that was involved in that is actually here this evening, hoping and praying that even though she graduated, that you guys will do what's right for her family members and her siblings and cousins that still attend here. And just this year, we had another incident at Marysville High School that proves without a shadow of a doubt that we need an equity policy with teeth that will protect our students and our teachers and our schools and our communities. I'm asking you, the board, to be the allies and the advocates for these students that they need and that they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Operating Engineers Local Union Number 3. California School Employees Association numbers 326 and 648. Association of Management and Confidential Employees. Supervisory Unit. Now we're going to move into our presentations. Kynoch Elementary.
Members, Madam Superintendent, members of the cabinet, and members of the audience. This is awesome seeing so many people turn out to see a presentation from Kynoch and Johnson Park. Yes. You do have a rough night ahead of you with some big decisions, but I can't tell you how my heart was filled seeing the celebrations and the recognitions of the students and all that's going on. And if you come and visit Kynoch campus, you will see that that is the evidence that we aim for and try to attain every single day. You've seen these board presentations and trying to go through these so they're not boring and stale. That's what we're going to try to do tonight. My name is Derek Morrison. I am the principal of Kynoch Elementary. This is my assistant principal.
My name is Jordan Hall.
And we would love to share about Kynoch School tonight. And sorry for the transitions. It didn't work like this on my end on our computer, but we'll get it figured out. I'd like to read an excerpt from a story called Kids Deserve It, because we can read to you these slides, but this is really what we're about. Kids deserve an excited adult. They need someone who's ready to explore and laugh with them all day. Someone who's looking for those magic moments, full of high fives coming down the line with energy radiating all around. Our kids have far more issues to deal with at home than many of us realize. School for them, they come to every day, they need to be ready to surround them with love, encouragement, and hope. We challenge our teachers to leave the problems in the car, and that's for me too. Leave your problems in your car, take a deep breath, and focus on the positive. Find hope. Kids need the best you. Step out and be your best every single day and be awesome. And Mr. Rasmussen, thank you for recognizing the efforts of the teachers that they do every day. I know that you guys feel that way. Teachers are tired right now. Administrators, everybody that's involved in education is tired. But we do it because the kids deserve it. Jordan will take over the next slide for us.
Our site plan is driven by multiple factors, including but not limited to closing the educational and achievement gaps that are most prevalent among our students, which are students with disabilities, low-income students, minority students, and English language learners. We constantly seek the input of our educational partners to help us plan our programs that will help meet the needs of all of our students. Realizing that we are much stronger together, we have started the practice of gathering input from our educational partners. One of the tools that we're currently using is we send out online surveys different times throughout the year. So just got the feedback from trimester 2, and we'll be sending out trimester 3 at the end of the school year. Our data is gathering. Excuse me. Our data is gathering and using a variety of assessment tools, including our state standardized testing, common and formative assessments that are done by grade level, and as well as input from our stakeholders and students.
In our site plan, we have 4 goals, and they are basically driven by student achievement. The 4 goals are focused on improving student achievement for all learners that cover a wide range of resources. Some examples are additional personnel from goal number 1. We have hired some paras just recently in the last week to make a team of 4 paras that can serve our students and help our teachers provide interventions when it's just really tough to help the needs of the students that they have. And number 2 is providing a 3-week summer bridge for targeted groups of students. And actually, the principal that took over for the summer is Miss Baker, and she's here in attendance tonight. In goal number 1, Kynoch has focused its resources on providing the highest quality first-time instruction for our students. We have attempted to put tools in the hands of our teachers and staff that will assist in making learning fun and engaging. And Stacy Anthony, actually it was Mrs. Baker who said when I was hired as the assistant principal, the thing that feared her the most was in the interview she asked, what will you want to see when you come into a classroom? And I said, I want to see fun. I want to see kids having fun. I want to see teachers having fun. We're getting back into the swing of that. The last 2 years were hard, but if you come onto our campus, you will see, I hope you will see and sense joy for being there. The social emotional learning of our kiddos is top ranked right now. Some examples from goal number 1 are celebrations in our focus areas. Miss Latuka is standing there next to 2 of our book vending machines that we purchased for our Read program, and they have created excitement about reading on our campus. By the end of the 22 school year, down there in the bottom, every classroom at Kynoch will have a new laser projector. And if you've been on Kynoch's campus, you see that a lot of our classrooms are full of windows and glass, and with the older projectors, they dim out and you cannot see. So we've invested in having these new laser projectors installed and put into our classrooms to help the teachers do their job. And then up there in the top right corner is a picture of one of our teachers working with small groups. And that's where the meat of it all is working with those kids to make that connection with the students and help them in their areas of need.
Our second goal all comes down to culture. Like Mr. Morrison has said multiple times, we like to have fun at Kynoch. If you ever have the privilege of meeting us on campus, there's a good chance that Mr. Morrison will be in a Batman suit. We like to have a good time with the kids. And so we focus a lot of our time and energy on the social and emotional learning of our students. Probably one of our biggest pushes with that is we fund a full-time elementary student support specialist, Miss Billy, who does a lot of work with our students who need the most help with that SEL stuff. And she's fantastic. We celebrate. That's what we do. We work so hard to accomplish so much, and we want our staff and students to know how much we appreciate them. So every Wednesday, we do what we call Kynoch Community. We do a little flagpole ceremony, say the pledge, and then we start getting kids up there, recognizing them, giving out awards. It's a great time. Hope you swing by one of these days. Actually, one of our teachers just finished her master's degree, and her graduation ceremony was canceled due to the lockdown and all that good stuff. So we had our own for her. That's what we do at Kynoch. We like to have a good time. Our PBIS team is working constantly to create a system that works for us, that continues to reward and teach good behaviors that we want to see from our students.
Fortunately, that teacher graduated from Brandman, the same school I graduated from, so we had all the stuff already ready to go. Goal number 3, again, building on the culture, it's increasing the engagement with the new phrase, I guess, is educational partners. So our community involvement is a big key. We want to get Kynoch community to be that place where my wife attended there, my sister-in-laws attended there, my mother-in-law was the secretary there for years. I've lived down the street from this school for 26 years. I was hired in Yuba City and never thought that I would be working at Kynoch, and then the door opened, and now I believe, where I need to be, working with these families and with this community, and I love my job. And being able to see this group come together, that's a picture of our Breakfast with Santa, where our ORC reached out to the Kiwanis, and they've adjusted and done a drive-through Breakfast with Santa instead of packing out our cafeteria during the COVID time. So being flexible and trying to find ways to still stay attached and connected to our community. Some of our celebrations with this, we had our Read Across America Day, even amidst COVID, and that is our own mayor from Marysville, and actually Kynoch alumni, Chris Branscombe. He was one of our guest readers. And then as Mr. Holmes talked about, we have our surveys that go out that drive what we do, and it started a new paw print to keep families, a monthly paw print that is part of the Gold Gazette, that you can find out what's going on at Kynoch as well.
And our fourth goal, summer learning opportunities. So our extended learning opportunities last year, we did a 3-week intensive summer bridge program where we focused on literacy skills. We had a little over 150 students who took part in that. Not only did we do that, every other school in the district did that. We also set aside money so we can make sure to have a PE teacher and an art teacher there so the kids could have some fun in addition to their intensive learning. Yeah, they had a great time, everybody who was a part of it. Like Mr. Morrison said, Ms. Baker did a fantastic job running the show. Oh, that was supposed to be what I talked about. I apologize. That's all right. Yeah, and for next year, we plan on doing the Summer Institute again this year, and we want to grow it. We want it bigger and better.
If you haven't caught on, that guy's a football coach by trade. This is the budget that was allocated for us, and as you see, that's a pretty large amount of money, and we're operating with a budget of $580,713. Close to 2/3 of our budget is utilized in Title I funds, with the remaining balance being utilized in targeted allocations. What we try to do is to do our best to be wise stewards of the allocations that are given to us, and are reminded by the 700+ students on campus that they deserve our best every day. And as Mr. Holmes said, if you come and visit Kynoch, you might catch me in a Batman costume or a chicken suit, as Dr. Fall did when she visited us, but you are always welcome to come and see the great things that are happening at Kynoch School. We thank you for your time, and if you have any questions, we would be glad to answer them for you. Thank you.
Go Cubs.
I would just like to thank you, Mr. Morrison and Mr. Holmes, for all that you do in your presentation tonight. Thank you very much.
Johnson Park?
Oh, you're good. We're having some issues there. 1 second. Okay, cool.
Do I just push the arrow button? No. I haven't started yet. Don't start my timer. Okay. All right. Good evening, Board President, Dr. Asrani, Dr. Greco, and Ms. Basalia, and members of the audience and our community out there watching. My name is Tracy Pomeroy. I am the proud principal of Johnson Park Elementary School, home of the Super Jets, where we are soaring to success. And tonight, I have an amazing group of individuals. If I could have you stand up. Got some over here, some over here. Yes. Very honored to work with these dedicated educators. They're amazing. So proud to be a part of this team. Thank you, sorry. We are so excited to share our school with you. We have a lot of great things going on at Johnson Park. All right, our mission is we, the staff of Johnson Park, will work to the best of our ability to help each child reach his or her educational and individual potential. We will encourage parents to become involved in their child's education through home and school cooperation. We strive to provide a positive and supportive learning environment, and like Kynoch, we like to have fun, as you can see. We've got teachers dressed in costumes welcoming students as they come to school, and that wasn't even the first day of school. That's just us. And so we're also a PBIS school where our expectations, our Super Jets, are respectful, responsible, and safe. Okay. All right. Glad it's not doing what it's doing in front of me. It's bouncing back and forth. Okay. The purpose of our school plan for student achievement is to ensure that all children have an opportunity to receive a fair and equitable and highly quality education, and we work to close the educational achievement gaps. Our SIPSA is developed through collaboration with our stakeholders in the planning stage and the implementation of the SIPSA. The goals in our SIPSA are also aligned with the district goals in the LCAP. For the planning stage of our SIPSA, we seek the input from our stakeholders in the comprehensive need assessments, including Title I surveys, EL surveys, with our ELAC group, staff and student surveys that impact staffing decisions, professional development, family engagement, program funding, and other programs and services at our site. Here are our data metrics. So in addition to the California School Dashboard, we look at enrollment data, LPAC data, common formative assessments, our Renaissance STAR data for math and ELA, accelerated reader data, and our family engagement feedback. We have 4 goals in our SIPSA. The first is to provide academic performance through staff involvement in the collaborative PLC process and to ensure appropriate support systems are in place to meet the academic needs of all of our students. Goal 2 is to provide a positive, safe, and healthy supportive learning environment for all of our students and staff, and as we continue to implement our PBIS expectations. And then goal 3 is to increase parent and family and community involvement and school-to-home communication. And goal 4 is to provide designated ELD instruction to all of our English learners. So here are the strategies for goal 1 and 2. We have, in goal 1, we have our paraeducators supporting in our classrooms and in small group interventions. We have our collaborations with our PLCs. We have our JET time, which is our RTI intervention time. And we have our literacy resource technician who has been instrumental in implementing our new accelerated reader program this year. Goal 2 strategies, which are our conditions and climate. We have our implementation of our multi-tiered systems of support and social emotional learning in the classrooms, as well as our new counselor. Shout out to our counselors. It is School Counseling Week. Ms. Sahota. And our PBIS and our outreach consultant and we have a student support specialist position and all of those other lovely things you see listed there. Pictured here are some of our Goal 1 strategies in action. We have our wonderful para Miss Durr who's working with a student. We have some of our grade level teams working in their PLCs and our amazing Miss Abby who is our LRT. Pictured there with some students in the library. Here we have some Goal 2 strategies in action. Our PBIS, a monthly lunch with the principal, Friday game room with our ORC, Miss Kachu, who's right here. And over there in the right corner, we have Miss Sahota working with the student. We also have our PBIS store that we have on Fridays. Lots of fun. We also have Sammy Circuit, who provides physical fitness with SEL lessons, as well as some fun monthly virtual family nights. And then we have some more. We're really heavy with Goal 2. We like I said, we like to celebrate and have some fun. So here we have our reclassification for our EL students. We had 7 students that reclassified this year. And also at one of our Friday flag ceremonies, we are awarding our accelerated reader. We have those every Friday. Okay, more of Goal 2 strategies showing off here. We have Dance Party Fridays, so if you like to dance, come on over on Fridays. We have music playing on the playground. Kids love it. Mondays, we have Miss Kachu, who is conducting Monday Mindful Mondays, where she has yoga sessions, and it's also part of our restorative practices. And at the bottom of the screen, we have some pictures from last week's Great Kindness Week, where students were involved in dress-up days, and they created a kindness tree with kind notes and had a lot of fun with that. But every day is Kindness Day at Johnson Park. Okay, so here are some strategies and goals for Goals 3 and 4. For Goal 3, we have our school site council, we have our ELAC, Back to School Night, monthly newsletters, fall festival, and all of the other activities you see listed here. For Goal 4, we provide 30 minutes of designated ELD instruction daily, as well as integrated instruction throughout the day. We are grateful for our EL facilitator, who's at the bottom right corner there with the student. She's amazing. Miss Martina. Okay, here we have a Veterans Day celebration where we worked with Lynncrest High School's junior ROTC. They were in attendance. They did an amazing job. We were able to also invite one of their band members who played taps. It was absolutely beautiful. We were able to honor family members as well as our very own Miss Stabnaw. She's our veteran. And so it was just a great day. It was really a beautiful day. And the junior ROTC happened to be having their inspection review that day, and they did an amazing job. So it was an awesome day. In addition to building those relationships with our community members, we've had opportunities to invite the Yuba County Sheriff's Department and Linda Fire Department to our school. We've had some canine demonstrations, as well as them coming along, the Sheriff's Department coming to help us out with our fall festival. We even have Freddie Mercury there. And then here's some pictures of our fall festival, which was a lot of fun for the kids and staff. Okay. I wanted to throw in that we love PE music. It's very important, so we're very, very grateful for that. So here's our total budget. We are a smaller school of 400, not 700, but This is our Title I and our targeted funds, including our Title I parent involvement. All right, so this concludes my presentation. I thank you again for this opportunity to share our school with you. I thank my staff for being here. And you have an open invitation anytime to swing by and have some fun with us, if I'm willing to answer any questions that you may have.
Again, Mrs. Palmer, I would like to thank you and all your staff for coming tonight. And I know tomorrow's going to be an early day, but and again, thank you all that you do for the kids in our neighborhood there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rasmussen. And thank you, yes. Thank you so much for being here.
Now we'll move to the superintendent, or the update of the, from the superintendent, business services.
Good evening. The update from the business services departments, we're just all trying to survive this latest surge of COVID and mitigate the staffing shortages and just hanging in there. So thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Education services.
Okay, and I'm going to combine just education services and personnel. So educational services is just concluding the first set of uploads for FPM. So we're through the first wave, going through the commenting section now. So thank you again to Jamie Larson for all of the hard work with the team there and getting that up to date and good to go. Beyond that, LCAP, you'll see the midterm reports on some of the metrics coming forward at the next board meeting. So we'll have the annual update for the board on the LCAP at our next meeting. From the personnel services side of thing, we've continued to work hard to hire and try to fill all of the gaps that we have when it comes to staffing. Again, our staff has been Herculean in their efforts to keep things running here for the district. But at this point, we have continued to hire. We have on board tonight a new principal for MCAA from a mid-year retirement we had. And would you like the introduction now, or do you want us? We'll wait on that. Okay. And then the second piece is we have a new adult education principal that was hired as well. We were also able to bring 2 new teachers on this last month on top of that. We have upcoming bargaining dates with MUTA and CSEA in February that we're looking forward to. And I think that's it for the update this evening.
Thank you. Dr. Asrani?
I'd like to pass my time over to Jamie Larson. She has done a phenomenal job with the foster youth and wants to talk, the homeless youth, and wants to talk about that. But before Jamie walks up, walk a little slowly, Jamie. I just want to give a big shout out and thank you to everybody for a job well done, for keeping the district functioning so effectively. And again, during this time of adversity and stretches in personal and social and emotional lives, just keep a smile on your face and let's just work together. Thank you. Jamie.
Good evening. Thank you, Dr. Asrani, for giving me just a couple of minutes. But I just wanted to come and share with you our thank you to the folks that really helped us make our HOPE, our homeless outreach program, the holiday super special for our more than 150 homeless students. So even though we sent a thank you right to the sponsors after the holidays, we just wanted to reach out again here in February, Heart Month, and I learned today that Kindness Week is either here or right around the corner, and what a perfect opportunity to reach back out to all of the donors and our collaborators that help make this possible. We have worked for a few years now, quite a few years, with the Yuba-Sutter Agents of Change and Yuba County employees who come together. They adopted 112 of our families, matching wish lists that students are submitting. We also had the remainder of those 150 picked up from sponsors that we have listed here. You'll note that our HOPE sponsors that we have, or our HOPE supporters that we have here in this box, they're all retired employees. So they're still staying connected to our district through supporting our homeless children during the holidays. We have 5 employees that also adopted kids this year. So You Can, we've talked about the Yuba County folks, probation, that come together. This year, we really focused on food boxes. We do a random acts of kindness program that we've talked to you about, where we do on select Fridays bags full of food for our homeless students. During the holidays, we went for big boxes so that they had some food to sustain them when school was not in session. This year, the food bank partnered with us, didn't charge us at all for the food that they contributed. And then we had this huge outpouring of community support for that. So not only did it fund the food boxes for the holidays, but it will continue to fund our random acts of kindness bags that we will do throughout the remainder of this year. We had some realtors that a year ago reached out, did shoes for us. Well, this year at Christmas, they came back and did pajamas. So we had over 300 pairs of pajamas that were donated. Companies that are doing blankets. We have another retiree from the district that knitted hats for all of our students. We had some generous just cash donations that came in through our Education Foundation, earmarked specifically for our HOPE program and those students. So I thank you very much for allowing us the opportunity. We'll follow up once again with all of the donors and just letting them know that we have shared their support with you. You have acknowledged that, and we'll also send them a little box of candy hearts to show our appreciation. So thank you for giving me a few minutes.
Thank you very much. Now we have the approval of minutes, the minutes from the regular board meeting of January 25th, 2022. Are there any corrections to the minutes? If not, do I hear a motion to approve? Motion to approve. Motion to approve by Frank Crawford. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Randy Rasmussen. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Now we move to the consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that members of the board would like to have pulled? If not, do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion approved by Mr. Crawford. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Boone. Is all in favor say aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0. Now before we move into new business, Dr. Ashrani?
Thank you, President Davis. Wanted to take this opportunity to invite up two excellent administrators that are stepping into, one of them coming to our district. We're so honored. And the other one stepping into a very new and exciting role for the district. May I please have Mr. Bob Eckert come up and just say a few words? He is appointed tonight as the new principal of the district's adult school.
Good evening, board. Thank you, Dr. Azrani. I want to first thank Dr. Azrani for her vision in bringing adult education back, and the board for their decision to allow me this privilege. It's been an honor to serve at Lynncrest for 17 years. It has been a privilege, and I am so excited to jump into this role with adult education. This is an opportunity to have a transformative impact within our community, build relationships, and really grow our area. So thank you for this opportunity. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Mr. James Lohman, we have the honor. He is now appointed as a new principal of MCAA.
Thank you very much, and good evening, board and everyone. First, I can't even begin to express how thrilled I am. As an educator, with experience over the last couple decades in teaching, in curriculum instruction, technology integration, career and technical education, and most importantly, the performing arts, music, and theater. This is a culmination of everything I've ever wanted to do, and I really thank you most sincerely. I'm very excited to be working with the students and the staff, the community, and the teachers at Marysville Charter Academy. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. New business. Approval of the Foothills Intermediate School renovation and upgrade project using ESSER Title III funds. Mr. Dixon?
Through PowerPoint? Well, thank you, President Davis, board members, Dr. Asrani, cabinet. I'm back again. I was here in August presenting to the board on this same subject. There are some updates that I would like to present tonight, and then there's a recommendation at the end as well. Let's see if I can get this thing to function. So it was back in August when I visited the school site with staff, and some of the observations was a curb appeal, or lack thereof. There is a big septic system. There's a dirt lot adjacent to the school. The field looked really good. The field space up above Foothill that was improved recently looks really good. And there was an elevation change on the property as well, which could impact ADA access compliance. There is a Yuba County facility right next door as well. We did find, Jennifer did find a soils report at the last board meeting. We talked about naturally occurring asbestos perhaps being on the site. The soils report indicated there is not naturally occurring asbestos. That's great news. Some of the things about the school, and maybe I should back up a little bit. I worked in 2 districts as an employee, Capistrano Unified, and in Capistrano, we built 31 new schools in 24 years. It was growing like crazy. And then I went to Santa Ana as the assistant superintendent, and we did all our work on our 61 sites that were all existing sites, no new schools. So I've been doing this for a while. I retired in 2015. I was just coming off being chair of the Coalition for Adequate School Housing, CASH, and I was also the chair of the Prop 51 state bond campaign. So I've been doing this for a while. So my observations, and I think you would agree, the administration office just doesn't seem to be functional. It's really small at the school. Social distancing, which is a big part of what the ESSER funds, and ESSER, by the way, is the Elementary and Secondary Emergency Relief Fund, ESSER. And there were 3 of them, actually. There was the CARES Act in 2020, in March of 2020, right when the pandemic hit. Then in December of 2020, there was CARES Act 2, or ESSER 2. And then in March of 2021 was the American Rescue Act, American Rescue Plan. So we call those, for the sake of argument, ESSER 1, ESSER 2, and ESSER 3. So getting back to the school, demountable walls. There was a lot of schools built in the 60s and 70s that had this open school concept where you could take the walls, and there were rails on the ceiling, and you could lock it to the floor, and you could make different classroom configurations. Over the years, in Foothill, those are affixed. They're not moving, not going anywhere. And what it did, It created a situation that it currently doesn't meet fire egress code. Fire egress code requires a corridor, a separated fire corridor from every classroom to get outside, or a door directly to the outside from that classroom. What's happened at Foothill, and it's not that uncommon, during class size reduction days, 10 years ago, no longer than that, 20 years ago, a lot of schools, this kind of situation happened. But it does need to get fixed. The kitchen and multipurpose rooms seem functional. They're large enough. I didn't do a plumbing code count on the number of fixtures, but just by eyeball and talking to the staff and principal, it seems as if we're lacking restroom facilities at Foothill. There was some other maintenance problems that I noticed. The ceiling tiles had stains, which would indicate a leak, a roof leak typically. One of the things that the staff brought up is when the power goes off, the emergency lighting doesn't work, doesn't come on. I think that perhaps has been fixed by now. The vinyl composition tile in the multipurpose room does need to be replaced. And natural lighting is a big component of student achievement. There's been a lot of studies done on that, and Foothill does not have very much, hardly at all, natural lighting in the facility. So some of the things, we've been talking about it for a while. With Dr. Asrani on board, we've been talking about it a lot recently. These initial findings and the recommendations that I came up with, and they are just recommendations, obviously. Everything's been verified. I looked at the as-built, the architectural plans, and again, we researched the asbestos issue. No action required. So my idea, and again, you'll have to get an architect involved and go through some process with your facilities committees, but to put the fire-rated corridors in the main building, and the superstructure of the main building at Foothill appears to be fine. And by looking at the architectural plans and talking to the architect and others, it seems to be in good shape. We just need to gut the inside and put in a fire-rated corridor and set up the classrooms correctly. That'll take a lot of space that you're currently using for classrooms. So the idea would be to put a new building in the front of the school. It'd take care of many things. You need more space, first of all, but you could also dress it up and make a nice curb appeal. So when you drive by Foothill, you have a new building, you fix the landscape, you fix the parking lot, you have a nice looking entrance to the school. So what would it cost? Well, this was August, and with escalation and construction, it's getting scary, but at $600 a square foot, a 6,000 square foot building, which should be able to house all those new facilities that I mentioned, be about $3.6 million. A good number that we've been using in the business for last year or so for modernization is $200 a square foot. Site work, estimating $400,000, and then a 25% contingency in for soft costs. So that's a $11,250,000 project. Again, you're going to go through your processes, hire your architect, take a look at some other ideas, I suppose, would be important to do. But the ESSER funds came to school districts as one-time money, right? One-time money. What's the rule of one-time money? Reduce future costs, provide long-term benefit. Hopefully both. But that's the intent of one-time money. The state school facility program doesn't have any money right now. There's two bills going through the state right now. AB 75, Assemblymember O'Donnell's bill, is a $9 billion state school facility program. And on the Senate side, SB 22 is a much larger bond, but it would also be for UC and CSU schools. So both of those are going through to provide more money into the state school facility program. And you do have eligibility at that site, and I think we have a better number than the 1.5. I think it's up a little bit from there. So I'd encourage you to at least apply for that. Now, the governor's budget in January, he proposes there's $1.4 billion in authority remaining, and Prop 51 proposes to sell that. And also about $240 million more into the school facility program is in his budget. We'll see what happens with the May revise and what the final budget looks like, but it's not enough. There's about $1.5 billion, no heck, there's more than that, about $2.5 billion in projects beyond Prop 51 authority waiting right now. So it would take a significant amount of money to put back into the state school facility program. So we can forget number one. I've said that a couple of times. You know, it was interesting. So Jennifer and I had a talk with the leadership of the Office of Public School Construction, and there's some water issues at Foothill as well. And they indicated, the executive director of OPSC indicated that could actually be a facility hardship project where we could do some filtration of the water. What that means is two things, matching funds of whatever the cost would be, and also you move to the top of the line with facility hardship. You have all these districts and projects lined up, facility hardship goes to the top. And then ESSER funds are for tonight, on tonight's agenda for board consideration. And also, California Department of Education requires that equipment and capital projects over $5,000 receive pre-approval. The pre-approval is like gold. I've talked to auditors, I've talked to others. You get that pre-approval, it's good to go as far as spending goes. Of course, the board has to approve it. So we did receive that, and it's on page 57 of the special report part of your agenda. It's an email that comes back from CDE. So you do have that comfort that it's been approved by CDE. So with that, I want to thank you for your time. Any questions or anything I could try to answer?
Mr. Dixon, I would just like to say thank you very much for the work going there. I'm really excited, once if this is approved tonight, moving forward to see what the renovation is going to look like for that existing building. It's been needed for so many years, so I'm really excited to see how we can make that a better learning environment and a better teaching environment for our staff and kids. So, thank you for everything you've done.
Oh, thank you.
To approve the use of these ESSER 3 funds, are there any discussion from the members of the board? If not, do I hear a motion?
Motion approved.
Motion approved by Mr. Crawford. A second? Second. Second by Doug Criddle. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. 7-0. Next item is adopt board policy 440, employee use of technology. Purpose of the agenda item is to provide the board the opportunity to complete the second read of the new board policy 440, employee use of technology. Brian?
So I don't have much to add after the last one. It's the same thing that you saw. Again, this is used by a number of districts within the state. I went out and looked at some of the districts I respect very much to see what they were doing and borrowed from them. So this is very standard from what you're going to see with districts throughout the state.
Are there any questions for Brian? If not, We need a motion to close the public hearing. Motion to close by Doug Criddle. Do I hear a second? Second by Frank Crawford. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0. Number 3, adopt board policies. Oh, sorry about that. We need now a motion to approve and adopt board policy 440. Any more discussion? Do I hear a motion?
Motion approved.
Motion approved by Doug Criddle. Do I hear a second? Second by Mr. Boone. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 7-0. Now number 3, adopt board policy 6163.4, student use of technology. It's a second read. Brian?
Once again, just made some very minor changes on this one, just updated. This is one we've done much more recently, but with distance learning and everything, we wanted to make sure that we had everything covered with all the amount of technology that we're now checking out and sending home. We wanted to make sure that everything was in there, and I think this does that.
Any questions for Brian? If not, I need a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
Motion to close by Frank Crawford. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Hasty. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Closes. Now, we need a motion to approve and adopt board policy 6163.4. Do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion approved by Ms. Hasty. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Randy Rasmussen. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 7-0. Thank you, Brian. Education Services, first read. Board Policy 0415, Equity. The purpose of the agenda item is to provide the board the opportunity to complete the first read of the board policy. Hi, Amy.
Hi, my name is Amy Stratton. I'm the Interim Director of Curriculum Assessment and Accountability. Tonight, I'm just going to introduce the first read for the Equity Board Policy, Policy 0415. I would like to remind the board the difference between a board policy and administrative regulation. The board policy is the direction of the board, the guidance of the board. The administrative regulation is how we implement the policy. And so the administrative regulation will look different than the board policy. That's kind of where the meat and potatoes of what we do and how we do it is located. Thank you.
Thank you. We have a number of public comments on this topic. We have a 20-minute limit to the number of comments we can take. Each comment has 3 minutes. So I just ask the speakers to keep that in mind if you want more of your contingent to have a voice at the podium. So appreciate your cooperation. We have Miss Gilmore? Kilgore, sorry, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Catherine Kilgore. I'm a lifelong resident of Yuba-Sutter. I went to Cordova, MHS, even WT. I knew Gay Todd, but when she was Miss Dunbot. So you have to be kind of old to know that. I'm here out of concern. I also have grandchildren that are in Marysville School District. Okay, there are some of you that are up in arms because you say there's no racism in Marysville, and really, that's just not true. I mean, I can cite several instances. I know the time constraint, so I'm not going to do that. But if we're being honest, it's just not true. I have a granddaughter that came home from school and said her skin was dirty because she's darker complected. That came from her classmates. So So the notion that there doesn't really need to be an equity policy that would help all children is just absurd. Now, it is very concerning that there has been a deliberate effort from members of the community and, quite frankly, members of the board to somehow equate the equity policy with critical race theory. Critical race theory has not now, nor has it ever been taught in K through 12. They are not the same thing. That is a political agenda. And the last time I checked, the board members, school board members should be separate from their political agenda. But that's not the case here. That's just not. And that's appalling. Thank you.
Bill Highland.
Thank you. Hi, Allison. Allison can probably tell you all you want to know about me. I'm from over the river, and the reason I came over here is because a number of my friends asked me to make comments about your decision regarding the equity policy. I realize that you have already spent 3 board meetings discussing these changes, and here I am coming to you kind of at the tail end of your decision. But I have 3 questions that I consider thought-provoking that I hope you will consider, and I'm going to add a comment as an answer in these questions. The first question is, what students will actually benefit from this change in policy? And my comment is, if your answer is none, and that the motivation for this change in policy is simply to appease a politically motivated pressure group, then I think there is a serious problem. Question number 2 that I would like you to think about, which is probably even more important. Probably a better question would be, what students will be potentially most harmed by this policy? Is it the students who already have an extra tough time in life through no fault of their own? And I really think you need to think about that. Number 3, and I would be thrilled if 1 or 2 members of the board took me up on this question. How would you personally explain this change in policy to the students in civics classes at Marysville or Lynncrest High School? Comments I have regarding this? Would the students in these classes be satisfied with your answers related to the fact that your explanation is that all of the equity policies of the original policy are now buried in administrative regulations so that they are not a visible high priority of the district as they previously were? Second comment is, what specific facts would you use to explain to them why you are making these formal changes? Is there any possible way you can describe this change in policy as a benefit to them as students? My conclusion is, I personally believe that the Marysville School District is just the first stop.
I'm sorry, you've gone over your 3 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Erica, is she still here? Connie Harris?
Members of the school board, I would like to start by saying that passing this equity policy to ensure all children have access to meaningful and equitable education is so important to members of this community that a dear friend of mine, Pamela Gaskill, decided to show up and give her speech today despite the fact that her sister passed away just yesterday. For many of us, we have a vested interest in seeing this policy passed and put into action. I grew up in Marysville for more than half of my childhood years. I've been through the school district. I've seen firsthand the lack of effort and care given to poor, low parental involvement kids of color. My middle school was often more eager to suspend and expel children than they were to nurture and provide for these hurting and in need of guidance rather than a suspension record children. For members of the community opposing this equity policy to assert that an equity policy is unnecessary or that race isn't a factor in education shows to be an element of ignorance. A lack of understanding of what it's like being a person of color in this school district. My mother is a counselor at Yuba College, and she went to Lynncrest High School to do senior outreach and inform kids of their college options a few years back, and she saw one black senior out of the whole graduating class. It's not that there was one black child in the area who was old enough to graduate. The reality is that children were lost along the way. There was likely very little effort put into encouraging these children to finish in the way that their counterparts were encouraged. This isn't a story unique to black children. The same can likely be said for the members of the Hmong community, the Hispanic community, the Native American community, all the minority communities, since there are so many of us in this district. We are always an afterthought. And the kids know they are an afterthought. That's why they stopped trying. That's why only one black child participated in the graduation outreach that year. A proper equity policy would have provided resources to help more students accompany that black student across the stage. My older cousins from a young age would complain about how they were being ignored in their classes growing up. The teacher would see their hand and choose another child or just move on to the next topic. Would you be surprised to know that neither of them graduated high school? You can encourage progress in this district. All we are asking is that for once you see us, consider us, and see us standing here in front of you and give us a chance. Please pass the equity policy, the real equity policy, so that all kids coming through this district from now on can have a better chance at success. Thank you.
Thank you. Connie Harris.
That was her.
Yesenia? Yesenia Kachu?
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm here again to speak, and I hope that no one can diminish what I've experienced or try to overtalk what I have experienced here through this district. As I've said it before, I am here to speak on behalf of my students, but also myself. Just as many people have said, they have experienced racism. I have experienced racism here at this district with students here at this district and staff members who supported those students when they said it to my face. That is a huge problem in our district, and I hope that people like, I will say it again, Dr. Greco, who was one of the fantastic teachers that I had that supported me, that supported the staff member who told me, no, you're not good for college. And thousands that I am very sure of that counselor, upon many other counselors, have denied that access to tell them, no, you're not good for this. Your last name is not going to represent us. My last name, Kachu, has been made fun of by staff members, encouraged by the children in the classroom. I am standing here to let you know that is not okay. The real equity should include race, because that is what we see here. 60% of our students are EL learners. There are brown students, minority students. I am that student. I represent those students. I really encourage you to have a conversation with one of those students. Have a conversation with me. I've worked with some of you. I know some of your families. And I really, if you know me, I am open. I'm open to have a dialogue. I'm open with my students, and I encourage you to get to know us, to connect with us. Because what is missing here is your perspective and our experience. Our experience is not to be closed, shut down, over-talked. Because this is my experience, the experience of my students, that still to today, I've heard and have to deal with and have a conversation with my students about their color of their skin and how in education they will be faced, unfortunately, with people who are going to tell them, you're no good. No, that door is not for you. And I encourage them to advocate for themselves. So before I get told again that, good, you pulled by your bootstraps, and that's all you took. No, there was people that advocated for me. And if it wasn't for those teachers, I wouldn't have my degree. I wouldn't be in this position.
We're sorry. Thank you. Pamela?
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. Dear members of the school board, you might recognize this provision. It was from the equity policy which has been adopted by 90% of California school districts, but which it seems you are being pushed to discard. Somehow it has been deemed an evil aspiration. Apparently, no longer should we strive to broaden the horizon of our students, rich or poor. No longer should we strive to enrich the educational experience of the children in our district. Experiences which it has been proved help children bond to one another, bond to their teachers and their schools, and build badly needed confidence. No longer should we encourage and help the children in our school district, rich or poor, to strive for higher education so that they might earn higher salaries, improve their standards of living, and pull Marysville out of the economic despair it finds itself in. Do you believe that by not extending a helping hand to our children to pursue higher education and thereby keeping people down will somehow help Marysville's overall economy? Will continuing at the same rate of low academic status, thus continuing our economic decline, somehow be good for our town? Every child who stays out of college is a child who will later bring less money to Marysville. It is one more child who will later increase the number of substandard homes that spill into richer neighborhoods, thus lowering property value of homes in more and more neighborhoods. It is one more child who may fall into crime and homelessness. It results in less tax money to repair crumbling infrastructure. All blights to our community. Because for some reason, we have suddenly deemed it beneath ourselves to give a helping hand to all our children. So many of us are looking at these shenanigans with amazement, wondering greatly what kind of game the school board is being pushed to play here. Is it a political game? Is it some kind of ideological game? We're talking about the lives, the well-being, the future of our children. We're talking about the very future of our town. If people want to play their games, dear members of the school board, bid them play them elsewhere, not sacrifice our children on the cross of their political ambitions. We earnestly request that you bring the equity policy, which reasonable minds in 90% of the state have adopted, back to the table and just adopt it.
Thank you. We have time for just a couple more comments. Susan, Alan?
So, honored members of the school board, I do actually believe in your inherent good intentions and desire to do the right thing and sympathize that you might be pushed by radical elements of our population to cast aside the equity policy which most of California has adopted and adopt what is clearly a thinly veiled denial of the equity policy. Consider, for example, the change here. This was in the top in the old equity document, adopting curriculum and instructional materials that accurately reflect the diversity among student groups. To what now? Adopt curriculum and instructional materials? Is that a joke? Why would such a statement even find place in an equity document? Is this anything less than a bold declaration that diversity and inclusion is being thrown by the wayside? How many students need to be conducted? How many studies need to be conducted again and again that prove that students perform better when their own self-image is elevated? When students of Hispanic, Black, Hmong, and Sikh background see people just like themselves mirrored in their books. Huge percentages of our population are made of children from these backgrounds. How many decades have we striven and still not entirely achieved to give all children the self-confidence they so desperately need by seeing themselves represented? And now, with the stroke of a pen, our district wants to wipe out this progress. In these tumultuous times, race issues in Yuba-Sutter have been in the national spotlight. Just recently, in fact, racism here made the front page in the Washington Post. Is this really what we wish to become known for nationwide? Members of the school board, you yourselves know that our demographics are swiftly changing and that the diversity of our city will soon become so great that all this posturing will become revealed for what it is and it will be scorned. Do you really want to go down in history as a school board that tried to set back the clock of fairness, inclusion, and progress? Is this what you want your legacy to be? Is this what you want your grandchildren to remember about you? 90% of California school districts have adopted the equity policy that was originally set before you. Please, honored members of the school board, put it back on your agenda and accept it. Thank you.
Thank you. Joanna?
Yeah, here we go. Just so you guys know, the comments that I hear through while I'm speaking is very inappropriate and unprofessional. And I'd like for you guys to ask them to stop. And my time shouldn't be starting right now. The behavior needs to stop. The ridicule, you want to talk about racism? They're doing it right now. They're making their chicken shit comments right now while I'm up here talking, and it's wrong. Number two, when we talk about racism, and you had your past equity comments, or the board policy, it listed out a myriad of different races. It did not list white. If you can substitute any race for that white and it be okay, this policy is wrong. Let me explain. If you take out Black, African Americans, you take that out, we're gonna help the Hispanics, we're gonna help the Hmongs, we're gonna help the white kids, we're gonna help all these kids, but we're not gonna help them, that is wrong. So the policy that you guys changed to say that all students, and everybody up here has said that, we need them all to be helped. When a child asks for help, they should be helped. So when you talk about, it being equal, my skin's not white, we're all immigrants. That's what this country was founded on, was immigration. All of on both sides of my children, you saw them, both sides of my children, they were immigrants. So all of us are, and that's the way it needs to be, and we're not asking that any child be discriminated against. We're asking that if a child needs help, those children, no matter what their demographics, no matter what their race is, no matter what, they need to be helped. And for the people who are saying there's racism here, those teachers, those adults that are doing that to any of these students needs to be stopped. It is wrong on every single level. I commend you that you want to help them, on the positive side of it all. That's what needs to happen. We need to have those positives. Anybody who is mistreated, no matter what their race is, it's wrong. And I think all of us in this room agree to that. So I'm not sure where the whole offshoot has gone. I agree with your policy. I agree with what your changes are. It talks about the choice of curriculum. I would personally be involved, as I know there's other people. I would personally be interested in helping to choose that curriculum and to see what it goes, how it goes down the line. Thank you.
Thank you. This is an informational item. We move to number 2, adopt board policy 5116.1, intra-district open enrollment. The public hearing is open. Joanna? Oh, sorry.
Oh, I didn't know if there was any
You go.
questions for me. Hi,
Sorry.
I'm Jolie Critchfield.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, we are just updating our interdistrict policy to reflect kind of our priorities for enrollment and looking at that. So if you have any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Joanna? Okay. Any comments from the board? If not, do I hear a motion to close the public hearing? Several people. Mr. Boone? A second? Second by Dr. Criddle. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Now I need a motion to approve and adopt Board Policy 5116.1. Do I hear a motion?
Motion approved.
Motion approved by Mr. Crawford. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Hasty. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? 7-0. Now we're on number 3. Adopt Board Policy 5117, inter-district attendance, second read. The public hearing is open. Do you want to say anything, Julie? Joanna? Any discussion from the board? If not, do I hear a motion to close the hearing? Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Hasty. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? 7-0. Now I need a motion to approve Board Policy 5117. Do I have a motion? Okay. Gary Criddle, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Hasty. All those in favor? Say aye. Opposed? Passes 7-0. Now we're at number 4. Adopt agreement with ProCare for speech-language pathology services for 2021-22 and summer of 2022. Dr. Greco?
Christina Royer is going to be presenting.
Evening. Do you have any questions about the request for this service?
Are there any questions from the board?
Can you just give us a little background of what it is?
Absolutely. We've had positions open for speech and language pathologists in the district since August, and speech and language pathologist assistants. And those staff are prepared for our students to receive support with communication skills who qualify for special education services. We've had a really hard time getting all of those staff that we need for our students, and we have added a number of contracts with different non-public agencies in order to provide those services for our students. We have a number of students that are waiting for those services right now, and so we're reaching out to whatever agencies we can to build contracts with them and bring SLPs into our district to support them.
Is the fee based on the use, or is it just a set fee?
For one of the agencies, not this one, we do have a fee for the use because they have a special platform that they use. It's a virtual speech and language pathology therapy for the students. But most of the agencies, we pay per use, per student, per session for our students. So we request a maximum amount, and then we generally don't spend up to that amount.
Thank you. Any more questions? Do I hear a motion to approve? Motion approved by Frank Crawford. Is there a second? Second, Ms. Hasty. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now we're at business services. The Energy Service Program update from SiteLogic. Jennifer?
Yes, I have SiteLogic's here to do an update on our solar panel project, our energy efficiency program. They'll be presenting tonight.
Hello, board members. Thank you for having SiteLogic here tonight, and members of the cabinet, superintendent. We just wanted to give a brief update on how the energy services project is going. And so I'm going to make it quick because it's been quite a night. But I do want to just remind the board that there was a lot of discussion about equity, and equity does come in the guise of facilities. Creating equitable learning environments is super important. And when you selected to have us do this project, that really was one of your major criteria, was the equity across the district. And so I do want to say that you've done a really successful job in selecting that, and that we are well underway in getting the equity across the district and improving the learning environment for all students. So our goal was to revitalize, optimize, and construct healthy, safe, and productive learning environments, and that's what we're doing. We're going right along. Our lighting retrofit, which was interior and exterior comprehensive to LED lighting, is completely done, over 7,000 fixtures district-wide. All of the bipolar ionization units have been installed district-wide as well, so that was our COVID fighter. All of the Lynncrest retrofit has been done, so now it's taken from a central system to single zone. There's an after picture. More than 250 HVAC units have been replaced district-wide, and the focus on those that were a priority were based on age and indoor air quality. So you can see quite a big improvement. And then, oh, this is the wrong one. I'm going to go ahead and tab forward because, or tab back, sorry. How do I do that? We've changed up the presentation a little bit so that my partner and your energy manager can talk, but also the solar is moving along at an incredible pace of success. Pretty much everything is in the final stages except for the foothills and Covalad. We're still waiting for the master plan to be finalized there, but everything is exceeding schedule expectations at this time. So we're going to have some great stuff, and we'll make sure we celebrate that with the community. I also want to just take a quick second. We've started to enroll our student engagement portion of the program. And super thanks to Jamie Larson and Alicia Wright and Amy Stratton for their involvement in helping us facilitate this district-wide. So we're going to be trying to do, and this might change a little bit, but there's an Earth Planet Party planned for the students. We're actually going to start with a trial run on March 28th, hopefully, at Foothills with the male students, because the female students they'll be going to Yuba College, I think, that day. And then we're going to be able to use them to help us as volunteers for a larger Earth Day, and that is getting ironed out right now. But we are incorporating it into the STEM curriculum, and we have a lot of enthusiasm and participation with the STEM principals that are really looking forward to seeing their students get involved with this. So we also are in the process of establishing 2 professional development days. Looks like we have the days picked, June 6th and 7th, and those will be for your teachers. And it's going to be, some people don't like the word boot camp, but it's going to be intense. But it's going to be a green boot camp, which is going to be hands-on learning for those teachers and how to incorporate energy and sustainability into their STEM curriculum. So we're really excited about that, and we hope to have a lot of participation. We think it's going to be a lot of fun, and we'll bring back reports on those as well. So at this time, I'm going to hand over and introduce simultaneously your energy manager. This is Ryan Johnson. Ryan's got 10 years of experience in the energy field and has recently moved to California with his wife, Emily, who is getting her PhD in psychology, and their 2.5-year-old son, Jack, who is probably causing him to lose some hair and sleep. So anyways, he's on site here several days a week and is really the glue that's keeping us together and keeping us focused on incorporating not just the energy savings, but how we are going to bring forth the project into the greater school community. So I am going to introduce Ryan.
Thank you for giving me a few minutes of your time tonight. So my goal, what I'm hoping to do, is just to give you a little bit of an update of what I've been doing. Like Jennifer said, I've been working as the energy manager for about 3 months now. And yeah, so I just want to give you a little bit of insight into what I've been doing to facilitate our program. So as you can see, this first slide is showing some savings that we're seeing out of the program. One of the things that's important when you're trying to measure energy savings as part of an energy program is to establish what we like to call in the industry a baseline, and a kind of a year that's normal before we start doing projects and behavioral adjustments and things of that nature, to then compare against as we start moving through an energy program. And so the baseline we selected for obvious reasons was 2018, 2019. That was before the pandemic. And so through this year, through the first 6 months of this academic year, we've seen $26,000 in electric savings compared to that baseline, which is a great start. As you know, we've been working to install equipment all of this fall. And so, to be honest, that's a really good start. And from my perspective, we can only expect greater things moving forward. And certainly as we go along, we'll have other utilities to update as well, like natural gas. And so, that number should only get bigger. So the second thing that I wanted to show you is, as I started to get on board as an energy manager, one of the first things I did, because I came in November, was I tried to get the schools prepared for the two big breaks that we had, correct? So we have time off in November and then 2 weeks in December also, where a lot of the schools are empty or largely empty. And one of the things that I can do as an energy manager is make sure that the spaces that aren't being used aren't being heated and cooled like they would be if they were being used. And if there's other staff who are on site, that those spaces are heated and cooled. And so what you can see here is some information from PG&E. And the long and the short of it is the bigger the spike on that graph, the more energy you're using. And so what you can see is the tall spikes, which is just a normal school day. And then you can see the second little spike here, which was actually, I believe, December 20th and 21st, where we didn't have students on campus, but still had some staff. And then you can see later in the week on the 20, I think it's the 23rd and 24th, there's no spike at all. And so that's reflective of the work that was done with Doug out of the Buildings and Grounds Department, myself, kind of collaborating to make sure that we've communicated with the different schools, figured out where we can shut things down and save energy. And so a very successful, I would say, winter break shutdown. And so the last couple slides that I want to show is just the work that we're doing as SiteLogic to create an energy dashboard for you that shows this progress that's accessible. I think that you've seen this before. Let's see, sorry about that. So what I think has been presented before is some of the electric information from PG&E, and what we're starting to build out on our end is we're adding the other utilities. So we're adding natural gas, we're adding water, and we're also adding a section of the dashboard that shows kind of combined energy, so you can see just how much in totality we're saving. And then once solar comes online, we'll also be able to add solar to this dashboard, so it's all there. So you can see the work we're doing from an energy savings perspective, the work, the solar production that's happened, that'll all be there in one easy spot. So. That's what I've been doing these last 3 months. It's been a pleasure working with, like I said, especially Doug and his team out of the Buildings and Ground Department. And I look forward to continuing to further that work and run this energy program the way it needs to be run. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions while we have SiteLogic here from the board?
Trustee Davis, I do have just a comment, and I think that last slide is one of the things that is exciting to me. It says that we're on time and on budget. So when we entered into this endeavor with SiteLogic, one of the sales pitch, I guess if you want to say, is that one, we're making a better learning and teaching environment for our students in the classroom. And the endeavor is cost neutral. So to enter into this endeavor, the district took out a significant loan, and with the intent that the cost savings annually are going to make those payments. And it sounds like currently we still are. It's over a 20-year lifespan, but I think being cost neutral for our public is a good use of our funds that we did, that we can produce much better learning environments and teaching environments and not cost the community more money. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was an informational item. Now we move to number 2, approve the right-of-way contract with the State of California Department of Transportation for the 2021-22 school year. Jennifer?
Okay. Good evening. Thank you. So this item is the intent of this item is for the board to approve the proposal from the state of California for the parcel in front of the district office that's located in front of the tunnel. I think you all know that they're working on the Highway 70 widening of the state highway. And part of that widening is going to impact the district office and our property line. And so the parcel that they're proposing to purchase from us right now is this little piece right here, the beige square rectangular. It's in front of the tunnel and the rail trestle up top. It's right in front. A lot of people don't realize Marysville Joint Unified owns that piece. And here it is from the Google Earth, so you can see it a little better. There's little or no impact to the district with this piece. The price that they're offering us is $479,000, and it has been appraised. That's fair market value. We've had it vetted through our legal, so there's really not anything to dispute. And then, so I'm asking the board tonight to approve this proposal, and the next steps are going to be, I don't know if you can read that, that's tiny. The proceeds will be deposited into our special reserve fund for capital outlay projects, Fund 40, and those funds may be used for capital outlay. And then we're going to be receiving another proposal for the front of the district office. The blue line, we walked that. You might have noticed the stakes that are out there. Caltrans has come in and put in stakes, and we've walked it. Greg Taylor with transportation, Brian Williams with technology, and Doug Trower with buildings and grounds. We walked it with Caltrans, and we were yet to get that appraised, didn't have that proposal, but that will be coming to you as soon as we receive it.
Jennifer, the second proposal, because I seemed like I was reading in the diagram, it talked about 20 feet for like a water pipe that looks like goes through where that blue line is. So it looks like if this is land that we're going to give up, we're giving up a significant amount of parking spaces. Is that accurate?
No, that's not accurate. From what we walked with Caltrans on the second, sorry about that, Russell, it will go right up to the parking, and we'll lose a light post that we'll have to replace, and we'll also have to replace some of our brick wall, and the marquee for Marysville High School will have to be moved back. But the parking will not be impacted. It'll be close, you know, it'll hit it, but we won't lose any parking.
Okay, great. I don't think we could afford to lose parking around here.
No, it's at a premium.
Thank you.
I have a question. My understanding is a few years ago, there was conversation about putting buildings, either a black box theater or classrooms, in front of the district office or toward the north, I think. Anyway, toward,
it's
you're
backwards.
looking at the map, you're coming
Yes.
this way. So will Caltrans purchasing the blue lines infringe on our options in that respect?
I don't know the answer to that. That would be something, if that comes to fruition, we'd have to meet with architects and design and look into that.
All right, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So do we have you said that one parcel was just under $500,000. So have we heard anything about what they're going to pay for this other?
Not yet. That's still being appraised, and
Okay.
yes. I'll bring that to you as soon as I have that.
Do we have any idea when this project would be coming forward?
I believe 2024, January approximately is what Caltrans told us.
So what happened to MYCC building?
Across the street, as far as I know, it's not going to be touched. They're impacting our side of the highway.
Any other questions for Jennifer? If not, do I hear a motion? Motion to approve. Jeff Boom, Frank Crawford has given a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Passes 7-0. Now we're going to move into public comments. Comments are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes per speaker and 20 minutes time for any particular subject matter. According to public law, bylaw 9323. Seth? Is Seth here?
Hello again. I hate to rehash this. On a number of occasions, several of us have requested the optional use of masks on our children while in the classroom. Despite the exhausting and growing list of proven studies that young children are not readily at risk of acquiring COVID or spreading COVID to their classmates, their teachers, or their parents, this board continues to enforce a mandate that is not law, nor is requiring one to follow. Ask yourself why we are allowing young developing brains to be deprived of all of the oxygen that is required for healthy development. After just 20 minutes, the mask becomes saturated, no longer protects against droplets, and is slowly poisoning our children with their own exhalants. My first grader, who is 6 years old, has already become ill on 3 separate occasions this year due to recurring respiratory infections, not because of COVID, but because of daily extended mask wearing at school. I want to thank you all for that. My 4-year-old in preschool, who chooses to sleep in the same bed with her brother every single night, has been free of such afflictions because her preschool does not enforce such idiotic and unlawful mandates. We can pretend and beat around the bush that this is not political, but we all know, and anyone with a pissant-sized brain can see through the charades. The politics are polarizing, and literally every aspect of our life has been funneled through a political filter. This board and its policies are clearly no exception. Let's no longer play games, and let's call a spade a spade. While on the subject of politics and political filters, let's move to the issue of equity. Thank you for recognizing that all kids, regardless of their skin color, are worthy of receiving help. I noticed the change on board policy 0415. It now says all students instead of specific groups. Let me clear up some confusion regarding 10,000 students and community members begging for this equity. I too have been born, raised, lived, and started a family and know many in this community. To believe that the majority are asking for this is a gross falsehood. It does mention, though, that this board will adopt curriculum and instructional materials. What are those things? It states that this board will provide time with local agencies and groups to students. Who are these agencies and groups? It states that this board will hire and retain a diverse staff that reflects the demographics of our area. I guess hiring on merit and past successes no longer is more important or attractive to those responsible for hiring those teaching our children than one's skin color. How pathetic this is becoming. I ask and recommend to this board that the parents whom are taxpayers of this public school system have a say on the content of material that is fed to our children, not the
Sorry, you've used your time. Thank you.
Let me just add, with little to no faith based on previous requests and failings of this board, will uphold the Constitution of the United States and the state of California. A select number of you are officially being served letters of intent to file claims against insurance policy 01277080.
I'm sorry, sir.
that table.
Joanna?
You've been served, sir. Excuse me, please don't do this. Thank you.
I'm going to explain what you just got served. You're getting served again by me. Each one of these holds a carried weight of $500,000 that you are personally liable for. We've asked you time and time again. I told you that it was going to come down to this, and it is. This evening, I'm serving each of you with a letter of intent to file claims against your bond, your criminal insurance policy, which I have a policy here, along with your oath of offices. You might not realize yet that each such you are personally liable for $500,000 in damages per claim that I've just handed you, and multiple claims. So there's more than one claim in these. You could be facing federal prison time from your actions if you do not cease and desist. A downstate Illinois judge issued a ruling declaring Governor J.B. Pritzker's emergency rules for COVID-19 mitigations in school null and void, effectively stopping the state's mandate in the school buildings. Sorgan County Circuit Court Judge Raylan Griskew issued the order Friday afternoon in a lawsuit brought by hundreds of parents and more than 145 school districts who claim the mask order denies students due process. Statutory rights have attempted to be bypassed through the assurance of executive orders and emergency rules stated in a 29-page order. This type of evil is exactly what the law has intended to constrain. I don't want to see any of this to happen to you, but we will file claims on each and every one of your bonds. So, got in here, there's some literature with my attorney, Lee Dundas, who is with Thomas Rentz, that's been speaking at the U.S. Senate House with Ron Johnson. Okay, so if you guys aren't familiar with that, you might want to watch it. This is not a game anymore. This is serious now.
Thank you.
You've been served. You've been served. You've been served.
I don't want that, dude.
It doesn't matter what you want. You're served.
You keep it. Yes, sir.
We're right here, just so you know.
So here we go. We've asked you guys to follow the Constitution and to avail. You do not follow the best document ever created. Mandates are not laws. Masking our children is wrong. Having a vaccination bus on campus is again wrong. We are serving your board members with an intent to file on the claim against the government, crime policy, declarations, crime, and fidelity. You can all be held personally liable. You've been served. You've been served. You've been served.
Thank you. Sandra?
I'm here to serve you with a notice of intent to file claim against your government's crime policy, declarations, crime, and fidelity, CRDS 040807. You are violating your oath to office. You swore to uphold the Constitution of America. You have no authority to create or enforce mandates. You are practicing medicine without a medical license. You are recommending medical procedures. You are abusing your power. You are depriving students and faculty of their constitutional rights. You are breaching your fiduciary duty. Illegally mandating emergency use authorization products have violated the trust of your constituents. You are violating Title VII of 1964 Civil Rights Act. You are illegally creating or enforcing policies on minors in order to attend school. You are in violation of 42 U.S. Code Section 1985, conspiracy to interfere with civil rights. This school board has voted to uphold these unlawful mandates that have interfered with the civil rights and abilities of teachers, principals, and staff. You have forced them to follow these mandates or be relieved of duty. Teachers and staff have been coerced into accepting an experimental vaccine to keep their jobs. Be on notice you will be held fully responsible and personally liable for your actions.
Thank you.
You've been served. You've been served. You've been served. You've been served.
Rebecca?
Well, that was quite interesting and exciting, and it's nice to see some accountability happening within our school district with the horrible actions and the child abuse that's been happening to our children. Oh yeah, the children, that's why we're actually here. Not about the 15 presentations that we heard about, the millions of dollars that are going through this school district. How much smarter are the kids in California? That's the question I'd like to ask. No disrespect to the teachers, but let's talk about what California is ranked. How about teachers get paid according to what they actually produce? Children who know reading, writing, arithmetics. I'd like to talk about equity because I was denied 3 minutes about 2 months ago and denied again tonight. 3 minutes, wow, there goes one. The simple truth is that America is being destroyed from within. A very few of us presently understand what is happening or know how to fight back in an effective manner. We hope to remedy the situation by doing our small part and by encouraging you to do yours. As a nation, we are stronger together. Our national motto is E Pluribus Unum, out of many, one nation, under God. All men are created equal, and that comes from God. It doesn't come from policies, it doesn't come from skin color, it doesn't come from anything else except for the fact that we are created in God's image. And that's where that comes from, and respect comes from that. In K through 12 schools in particular, CRT rarely presents itself as CRT. Rather, it hides behind euphemisms, labels such as anti-racism, educational equality, curricular complacency. Such methods are plainly deceitful. So I would encourage every one of you to get this book. It's written by Carol Swain. She's an award-winning author. She knows what she's talking about. She's been involved in the education system. It's called A Black Eye for America, and it actually explains what CRT, equity, I actually believe we're saying a lot of the same things. I don't want anybody, I don't care who they are, to be disrespected. I will stand up and I will push back against any of that. That sounds like a policy problem, not a racial problem. And that is something that the school district needs to deal with individually, not according to race, but according to humans, because we're all human beings. And my eyes don't see color. So, Chodafes, Najang, Kolombe Hulicha, Sasrika, Keta.
Your time's up, sorry. Meeting is adjourned.
Why is Dan Flores grinning? Find out noon Wednesday. It's a new show. That's right, a new show here on Yuba-Sutter.live. Lunch with Langdell. We've got food. And sometimes the inside scoop. Lunch with Langdell, noon Wednesday here on Yuba-Sutter.live.
It's 52 years, and I can tell you the people that I see going to state prison were not on soccer team. So this board, it's the pleasure of the full board, first of all. I know you thought that, and so did I, but they presented the information on the facilities. This board, what the community is looking for, as it won't happen tonight because it's not on the agenda, but what they're looking for is a commitment one way or the other. Either we open it up so that everybody can have use, or we close it down, and when we have that, it will be a roll call vote, because they're right, they need to know where we stand on this. It's not gonna be any, everybody raise your hand, say aye, it's got to be a roll call vote, and you need to voice your opinion. I think it sounds like the recommendation, I don't know who's on the facilities committee, but I'm asking the superintendent and Scott, we can't hold people hostage to damage they didn't do. If they sign a liability waiver, what does that do for any damage that's done while there's the use of the facilities? And secondly, we've got to make sure we know who did it. Dogs, people walking, well, when I was trying to be exercising like my husband, there were people walking around the track with dogs, and yes, they were pooping and shitting, but they were out there playing. I remember back in the days when the soccer field, when we were out there. So we're taught, we need to have a discussion. The administration can't assume how we feel about this unless we voice our opinion. Sorry.
You know, we really need to come up with a way where we can open them up in some controlled fashion, maybe. Because I get the vandalism, I get all that stuff, right? But I mean, back when my son played sports, which was 3-4 years ago, we used to go to Yuba City High School every weekend. They'd be working out there, kids would be walking, they'd be jogging, old people would be walking. It was great. And then, then we had all of our shutdowns, everything, COVID shutdowns, that kind of killed everything. We get that, right? But it seems like during that thing, we all got used to not doing anything outside anymore. And really, COVID's starting to go away now. They're talking about actually lifting mask mandates on the 15th. That may happen. Really, we need to start opening it up again. And really, not just River Valley, but also the Yuba City High School and Terrebonne.
So, I've seen a number of people look at me directly. And
I know it's not you.
That's true. They are looking at you.
I know.
We're not looking at anybody else.
No, I'm just saying we need to come with
They're
some sort
looking
of.
at you so friendly. That's the thing.
So all I want to say is, it's not.
No, I agree. It's not your
It's the board's decision, and the board has made the decisions to close down the facilities, and
But it's a discussion that was not made by this board.
I'm not saying that. No, I'm just saying, as you're looking at me, I'm here to implement the bill board. Okay, so
I guess what I'm looking at you is I would like you to come forward next time with a proposal where we can vote on that.
So what I need is clear direction from the board. So I need like a majority of the board to give me clear direction on how to move forward to move this discussion forward, okay? Because what I heard from the last meeting, when we had everybody here, was we want some additional access. To be honest with you, I didn't know it was River Valley. I didn't know it, I didn't know what facilities. So I don't think I feel like I had enough direction to move forward.
That's fair.
And also another thing, we are in the primary business of educating students, and the city is in the one of their primary responsibilities is Parks and Recreation. And I also absolutely believe that these are taxpayer dollars and are secondary benefit if we can do it smartly, kind of like what you're talking about, is to allow access. And that's what we have here as far in a limited fashion. And if we want to explore opening that up a little bit, that is a valid conversation. But I also have to let everybody know that it comes at a cost, right? And all these little things, the wear and tear, it does cost. We can absorb the cost, but it does mean we're going to have to make different board priorities. We're going to have to reduce, we don't get additional money for this, right? So now we're talking about reducing budgets that truly directly affect education. So
if that happens,
it will happen. We will have liability.
Okay.
And it's okay, it's a cost of doing business, like it was mentioned. I totally understand that. It is a cost of doing business.
So I want to intervene. So from what happened at the last meeting,
we were directed to bring the facilities committee together, which we did. The facility committee made recommendations. It's being presented to the board. Scott is asking, and I'm asking on Scott's behalf, for the board, the full board, to give us clear direction as what you would like us to do on the next steps.
All right, I'm gonna call on board members. No, I need to hear from the board, sorry.
That question is relevant to what you just said. We all here want to know the same thing, what Doreen just asked. Who's going to make this recommendation and where it's going to go? Because we are not leaving unless we know something today.
I got it. Who has it, Jasmine?
I had similar questions that Dina had when it came to the Lynncrest, Lincoln, and April Lane being open. And I wrote a note that said, is that true right now? And you know, when you think about Yuba City High School, it used to be open. And I don't know when it closed down.
So it's a decision, and Lynette is right, that some of the board members that currently sit were not the ones who made the decision, but the governing board at the time made the decision based upon information that was presented to close the facilities because we were having issues and their loss. So the board did take action to close the facilities. And again, Lynette is right, we're here to discuss what this board would like to do moving forward.
This is the current sitting board. This
Okay.
board has to make the decisions. Please continue.
I personally would like to see a resolution to open up River Valley and other schools. I think it's a great thing that you guys are, you know, proposing, opening up Terra Buena and Gray Avenue. You know, I do empathize, or I do understand like the risks that come with opening up schools. But I think that right now, because we've been so restricted because of COVID, I think at some point we need to allow our kids and our community to have access.
May I ask Mark Button in terms of the current facilities?
Wait, Jasmine, are you done?
Yeah, that's fine.
So Lincoln, Lynncrest, and April Lane.
Yeah, during the week right now, because they're open till, they open weekdays, they start opening at 6 p.m. Because it's been dark until that, they're not open during weekdays, just because of time. Because you have to have school programs. And it's actually our security company that's assigned to open them in the morning and night on weekends. So I have to follow up with them and see why it's not being done.
Can I ask one more question? Yes. Because I've had a couple of community members that have come to me previously and asked this same question. It wasn't related to River Valley High School, it was related to AK. And at that time, the direction that was given to me was that it had to do with cost associated with how much time they're spending and getting a janitor to go out to open the facility and also close the facility for the duration of the time that they're there. My question is, you know, had we known, I'll just speak to myself, had I known that there are other schools in a relatively close proximity, I would have maybe asked for them to be a suggestion for them to be able to use those and not incur the cost that they incurred by renting out, you know, ground use at AK, for example. And Lincoln School is right there. Lincoln School theoretically is open. So, I mean, that's a lot of new information that if it's true, then I wish I would have had to be able to save the $300 for each time that the person communicated with me.
What I'm asking for the board is the direction that they want to go in, but before, Shelley, you have your hand up?
Yes, I do. I live about a block away from Lynncrest School, and I can say as a grandparent that while Scott I believe Scott faithfully presented the information he had, but I want to make sure he knows that it's completely incorrect. Lynncrest is never open, and it's never open on the weekends. And I would like to see us open those facilities. I agree with Mr. Joel's point that good law-abiding people who use these facilities will deter people who want to do vandalism. So that is my opinion on the subject.
Yes, Mr. Button.
Yeah, with the Lynncrest and Lincoln, they are scheduled to be open, they've been authorized to be open. We have not done it in-house because I can't bring in people on the weekends. So we left it up to our security guards to do that. And they're supposed to open them and close them back up. So if there's been a problem with it, I've not heard that, and I get that corrected tomorrow morning with the phone call.
Okay, thank you. So, Greg, they need to know how we stand on this. You guys
Yeah,
can't
let's go
sit
down the
back and
road.
not say anything, so please, whoever wants to be next.
I'm open for, this is all new for our board, so as Lynette said, this is a prior board to us. I didn't know everything was shut down like it was. I appreciate your comments, Joel or Joel? Joel. Okay. I appreciate your feedback. It was very educational. Obviously, I wasn't on the board, nor am I aware of what promises were made prior to River Valley High School being built. So that's news to me. I do agree with getting kids off the streets and into the facilities doing sports is a great thing. I also believe that you have to self-police and watch out for people vandalizing. And it's not, obviously, I'm not saying anyone in this room, it's just people in general. And I believe it was asked, our last incident with vandalism, to the best of my knowledge, was actually done by a 6th grade student at Ted Wentz School, selling kids. So, you know, as adults, we gotta watch for that type of stuff. I don't know what hours of the day that took place, but we definitely have to watch for that stuff and be willing to reprimand kids and people. So I'm definitely open to seeing things open back up as well.
Thank you.
My understanding is this is an information item. If you're asking if I might get brought back as an action item, then I think there certainly needs to be an action taken.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I hate to put you guys on the spot, but I can't speak for everybody, and you have to speak your own, you know.
I told you 7, who else left?
Shelley, you're gonna go first.
Shelley said she already.
No.
Sorry, I was muted. What was the question?
She's not in town. She's the 7th board member. Shelley?
Yes?
I'm sorry, I thought I heard you say you didn't have a problem with opening things. Correct me if I'm wrong. But what
Oh, no, I do. I would like to see them opened.
Thank you. Good job. You can hear the clap.
Madam Superintendent, I'm trying to get a feel for each board member, right?
Right, but this again, as Member Roscoe said, this is not an action item, and so what I would ask is for direction from the board.
All right, what's the direction of the board? Is it to bring it back? What's the, yes, sir.
I'd like to give you direction to really come up with a proposal where we can open it up safely with security, not having someone else do it where they're not opening it up when it should be open. Just somehow where we can control it. I'd like you to meet with the facilities committee. I don't even know who's on the facilities committee, but whoever's on the facilities committee, come up with an actual proposal that really we can vote on that kind of gives us security there, but also opens it up. I mean, not the River Valley, but also Yuba-City. Yes, also Yuba-City. You know, and really give us an actual proposal based on your expertise, right? But I mean, we do want to open it. Really, tell us how we can do it safely.
Okay. Can I ask a few clarifying questions? Maybe you can get some nods or is it the board's interest to open up all the facilities or just additional facilities to help support the park system?
I would personally stage it. Start with the high school and really start with Charbonnet. And really, the other ones you already mentioned should already be open, right? Those we're gonna take care of.
Yeah,
Those
we'll
already
figure
good.
that out, absolutely, and I apologize.
Really, I would do River Valley, Yuba City, and Charbonnet, and then we'll gradually stage it.
Does that make sense to the board?
And this means we'll be hiring more security guards, right?
I don't know exactly what it means, so that's what I think, we're gonna be tasked with is analyzing this and making sure we can see, we're gonna propose the additional costs associated with doing all this and how this is gonna work, and come up with some ideas on that, absolutely.
Right.
Questions from the board?
So, yeah, I do, can I ask a few more, sorry?
Sure. Yeah, okay, sorry.
So we talked about kind of open access. Are we talking open access or for organizations?
I think we really do need to limit professional organizations. Because really, that's the problem we had before. Really, we had leagues who charged money for kids, and they were using it, and they were charging people money. We do need some way making sure that doesn't happen, but we do want open public access.
It's more like open access so people can just get on.
Yeah, but the pickup games, it's like that, not for leagues that charge money.
Okay, I have a question on that, on the organized sport. Are you finished, Sarge?
Yes, I was answering.
Go ahead, Mary. When you talk about sports that charge kids to play, I'll use soccer because everybody here knows about soccer. When you sign the kids up for soccer, they have the river bottoms and they play every Saturday, right? But when it comes time for practice, all the parents have to find a place to practice. The parks are full, the schools are closed, or they get charged. When you talk about organized sports and those parents being charged to have practice there, those parents are all volunteer parents. And they have paid so much money to be in that league, but nobody's given any of those parents any money to coach those kids. So when they're asking for a place to practice, they should be able to practice on these fields just like everybody else. So I just want to clarify the whole organized sports thing, you know what I mean?
I know there's a difference between a rec league, which is public to me. Rec leagues are good, right?
Okay.
Parks and Rec, whatever. I mean that's not for profit. But then there are some for profit leagues in Yuba City. We all know that.
Yeah.
That's the ones I'm talking about.
I just wanted to make sure
not the rec league.
because those people were charged to use those fields.
Right. I think if
Starting the soccer league, people have been charged, and so I want to make sure those parents aren't charged because they're volunteers.
I think we need to differentiate between a rec league and a for-profit league.
Well, we need to do that, and
Yeah.
the bottom line is the board, Mary, can't address problems unless we know about it. If they're being charged, this is the first I've heard of it, probably great, we didn't know that.
Well, part of our fee structure, certainly, please correct me if I'm wrong, part of our fee structure has I believe, a reduced fee for nonprofits, right?
Yes, sure.
It's still a fee.
No, I understand that.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I'm backing up.
Okay,
It's still a fee.
what SARB has asked for is a proposal for, because and if I'm not stating it correctly, please tell me. He's asking for a proposal that allows us to open up the facilities safely, and we'd like that by the next board agenda.
And I also heard staged, phased in.
I like to open these two immediately, but then maybe
Right.
stage in others, right? Yeah.
Okay.
And so the
Now,
proposal.
can I ask, is it full access to like the open fields or the track, football field?
I'm asking them to basically
That's what I'm asking.
analyze that and kind
Okay,
of propose what you guys would recommend for that.
Okay, because
The issue
That's what I
right
was
now
looking for.
is there is no access.
there's absolutely
There is
none,
no
yeah.
use, and when we go back, when was the vine issue, 12 years ago?
Yes.
Well, it was a long time ago.
22 years ago.
Yeah, so we have to, the public has spoken. I can't speak for people who weren't here, just like the anti-maskers were here. There's plenty of people who support the mask. So what we're asking, board, and correct me if I'm wrong, Nicolo, you're correct. It's not an action item. I thought I made that clear earlier, but we're asking it to be an action item at the next board meeting, which is the 22nd, which is when the board will be presented with the proposal. Now, say Scott brings a proposal that we don't agree with. There can be amendments to the resolution. If he says, no, we're only gonna open it up one day a week, the board can make a motion to open it up 5 days a week. So it's still the pleasure of the full board. And the direction, is anyone not clear on the direction?
We're good.
Thank you.
Well,
If Scott's gonna put some numbers together, I'd like to see those numbers, so at least validate them before we come to the meeting. In terms of additional costs, because there's difference between marginal costs, average costs, and so being a CBO.
I think you're probably the only guy who would actually care to know.
Well, yeah, I just don't want to blinds,
No, I get it.
Scott, when you present, and then I'm asking these questions, so if we could have them beforehand, that'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah, the board authorizes something, but the staff, it seems like it's not overseeing. So we talked about Lynncrest, Lincoln.
Well, he's gonna fix
thinks-
that.
The staff thinks it's open, and the security that we're paying, what the school district is paying to open it up, is not there on the weekend. They're watching, Yeah,
But
that should
before,
be-
but Tage, before that was said tonight, Mr. Butt, he didn't know that.
I know
Now
that.
he knows.
But
Everybody
it
has been
has
actually, that's not.
But it should be happening, there should be somebody supervising. This beauty company.
Okay, listen, what we asked him to do was to give us a proposal that opens him up safely. We're not gonna tell him how to do his job. He knows what the pleasure of the board is as far as a proposal. That was a, Steve, is that you?
Yes, Madam President, not to agree with Mr. Joel necessarily, but I've heard all this talk this evening about, the cost of vandalism. If you're gonna argue that there's cost of vandalism, where are those costs? Where's the data to see that?
Yeah.
Where is the, the numbers? Because you could always, in 2 years, if you had a lot of vandalism and did not work, or at that time come back and say this isn't working out. But to just say that there's vandalism, that's a cost. I mean, a kid can go to cut a pair of bolt cutters and cut the locks off the gate, boom, or whatever. There's no way to stop vandalism. But this argument that we made an agreement, not we, but the district made an agreement with the community to open up the field, and vandalism is now the reason we're gonna violate that agreement. Where's the data about how much vandalism has occurred, the cost of it? I taught USD high school for 35 years before you were locked in, a kid got pissed off, stuck a hose under the back door of the gym, plugged the whole gym, $250,000 to replace the wood floor. Locking down something isn't gonna stop that from happening. As Paul Dev said, the people who do bad things do bad things. My father was a judge and an attorney for years. Locks are not made for harm to other neighborhood people. Will walk in your house.
Okay, we're gonna.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So is everyone clear what the board has asked?
Yes.
Yes, Carl?
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. The board has asked for a proposal to be brought back on the 22nd. I know you said you don't want to come back again, that's up to you, but it will be agendized on the 22nd with a proposal. During that agendized item, it will be in the area that is called the action items, right? And that is, which is at the end of the calendar, but so the action items will be discussed. A vote will be taken. Yes.
The way I understand, we understand, today was the meeting, these gentlemen should bring a proposal. You guys will either overrule or agree with them or come in the middle. Like Mr. Joel said, what we know, what kind of proposal this gentleman will bring.
Because you're going to be here in the room to see it, Virginia.
Then we will be arguing again for the same thing?
No, we're not. I'm not having any more arguments.
Another thing I want to mention, when all of you guys can remember vandalism 6 years ago, vandalism 12 years ago, how come this board and administration never learned when this River Valley High School got built? I'm not done yet, please.
Okay.
You guys took a pledge. You guys promised. Why can't we remember that promise? How hard is that to remember?
Okay.
How people will trust you?
I'm going to
in the coming future.
Because a lot of us were here.
I know, but learn it. She's telling me everything, she was there.
To gender.
Learn from her.
Gender.
Should be written somewhere.
I mean, this is not right, you guys.
Okay, everything he said has been said, am I incorrect? It's already been said. They've already told us how they feel about it. They've already told us that there was damage that they weren't, we know all that.
Be quiet, Mr. Joel. He should be the middleman by this guy.
I'm gonna end the discussion.
Okay, that's fine.
Because we told you what we were gonna do. Is there anybody not clear on that besides the gender? Okay, thank you. We're gonna move on.
Thank you. Thank you. We're all coming, make sure you guys know we're all coming again.
I would like to say something. Loretta Riley is here today. She had a very tragic death in her family. Her daughter passed away. I would like to say a prayer for her and her family, what she's going through. We really appreciate that you came today to this. And I know you were going to be somewhere else, but you came for us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
very much.
Appreciate everybody here. Thank you. Thank you. And that wild man talking about death is my husband. He's my protection.
Thank you, guys.
You don't wanna see how the maps are gonna come out?
Too many meetings already. I'm glad I'm not sitting on that side of the.
I know.
Especially during these.
Well, we'll all be
COVID.
voted out, so.
We had the city council listen to the same people.
Thanks for coming, Kate.
Good luck, guys.
All right, next item.
Okay, here we go. The next item is the California Voting Rights Act, public hearing. Hearing is now open.
Thank you. So we have tonight with us Rob Murray via Zoom and Paul Gant from KB Legal for the legal questions you might have. So your pleasure is to let Mr. Murray start. All right, Rob.
All right, great. Well, thank you. It's good to be here again. So I have a presentation, and am I just sharing that on the screen on my end, or is that going to be loaded up on the district's end?
If you can share, please do.
Yeah. Oh no, I've got it right here. So let me just go ahead
Thank you.
and put it in presentation mode, so I don't have to do that after I'm sharing, and then I'll get that going. Okay. Okay, so hopefully everyone is seeing the trustee area creation and process final public hearing title slide.
Yeah.
Perfect. So agenda tonight, we're going to review the map options that we have so far, and that includes the new option that was developed with some input from the special workshop that was held on the 3rd, which is now called the Orange Map. So we'll review, again, the other maps have been previously presented, so we may not linger on those as much, but we're happy to pull them back up to address questions. We'll look at the new map. We have the data, all the various criteria data that we've assembled for each map. And then we'll have the public hearing, and then at the conclusion of which, we'll just look for direction from the board about new maps that might need to be developed. And that would have to be any map that could be adopted at the meeting on the 22nd, need to be posted no later than 7 days before. So we're shooting for no later than the 14th to have those done. So just definitely need my direction if we also need to develop anything else, or also to begin formally removing some maps from consideration, which can be done, again, prior to the decision to adopt a map. So we'll just, again, look for that so that we know what are the final options that will be on the website in that week leading up to the meeting on the... Again, we've had just that quick overview. We are using the 2020 population as recorded by the full count census that was conducted in that year, 78,280 people residing in Yuba City Unified School District, which means 7 trustee areas. Ideally, we would have each one very close to 7,183 people. However, given that it's very difficult to get trustee areas that are exactly that size, we do have some leeway. We'll explain how that variance works, again, just to refresh everyone in a little bit. And then the other reminder that this is a diverse district by race and ethnicity, with no one race or ethnicity making up a majority of the population. So those trustee area map options. We've looked before at the blue, green, and purple maps, which, again, the blue is the most compact and balanced in terms of populations of each trustee area. There was also a blue map B that was developed to redistribute some territories between trustee areas 1 through 4 to allow for the possibility of all current board members to be reelected without running against each other. There was also a blue map C that was developed off of the original blue map to just shift some territories to put all of the Happy Park neighborhood into, in this case, trustee area 6, but a single trustee area, resulting in just slightly more of that population variance, which again is just the sum of the percent over that average that the biggest area is, and the percent under that average that the smallest area is. So if you had a 5% over and a 5% under, that would be 10%, and that is your threshold. Everything has to be under that 10% threshold. Your green map uses the elementary school attendance boundaries to form a lot of the lines. The purple map used the Sutter County supervisory districts that people have been used to seeing up until, of course, those have also been changing with the new census, but to inform some lines. And now we have the orange map, which uses a community submitted territory for one trustee area. In this case, that would be trustee area 4 on the orange map. And then all other areas, again, just made to meet other criteria. And that one comes in at a 6.5% total population variance. And we will be looking at all of those maps again, kind of briefly with the blue map, excuse me, option A. Notice on each map, we have a suggested sequence of elections, which corresponds as closely as possible to when the terms of current members who reside in those areas might expire to lead to natural elections. But that way you can see, once you adopt a map with 7 areas, only 4 of them will be able to hold an election in 2022, because that's when 4 seats on the board will open up. The other 3 areas will have to wait to hold their first trustee area in 2024. So you'll just see those on each map. We have the blue option B, which is that variation. 5, 6, and 7 are the same. Areas 1, 2, 3, and 4 have some areas shifted around. Option C is now very similar to option A. It's just the difference in area 6 and 7 to put the area around the Happy Park neighborhood all in trustee area 6. The green option, again, with the overlay of the elementary boundaries, just to see where they coincide. The purple option, and again, I'm happy to go back and revisit these in more detail, but the ones we've seen before, I'm just getting through just with a quick refresher with, again, those previously used supervisor areas to show how those lines influenced these trustee area shapes. And now the orange map. So this one is new, so we'll look at this one for a moment. The trustee area 4 here was the shape that was workshopped a bit and submitted by the community as desirable to put as many people, including the Happy Park neighborhood, who are identified by the census as Asian in an area, and then working other areas to meet other balances. Another big one is trustee area 5 is the area that on some other maps, especially the blue maps, which this one is perhaps still most closely related to, is the majority Hispanic or Latino area by total population. So definitely making sure that to maintain that being the case. But I was able to produce a map that meets all of the legal requirements while having that shape for trustee area 4. So that is submitted as an option based on your direction from that previous meeting. And then the data analysis, one thing that is added to these, because it was a good suggestion, I think, from last time to show what that variance is of each individual district. So just in that example, the blue map A, we said had a 2.2% total variance. And again, you get that by looking at your 1.4% that 11,340 is over that perfect average, and the minus 0.8% that 11,094 is under. 1.4 plus 0.8 gives you 2.2. So that's when we're talking about total variance. That's where those numbers come from. And then you see, again, just the data we're going to be looking at for each map, the total population, and then the percent of, in this case, the 11,180 that is identified by the census as being within these categories of race or ethnicity. And then the same information for just the voting age population, which will tend to, again, depending on different community demographics, be a little more or a little less concentrated when you're only looking at the 18 plus population. And then on a second screen for each map, in this case, still looking at blue map A, some socioeconomic data that the board has expressed is of interest using American Community Survey data, most recently released from the census. This is median household income as closely as those larger block groups can align with the trustee areas, the percent of households in poverty, and the percentage of owners and renters. So you have that same information presented for each map option. This is blue map B with that information, blue map C, again, with the equivalent information, which again, we're happy to go back and pull up for discussion. If there are specific questions, the green map, the purple map, and then lingering for a moment on the orange map, which is the newer one. And so again, showing in comparison to some of the other ones, looking at our total population, trustee area 4, with the 45.1% Asian population, which is a significant concentration over the district-wide 20.8%. Again, one of the tenets of the California Voting Rights Act is for concentrations of a protected class, which can include racial and ethnic minority groups, to have their vote strengthened within a trustee area that can coincide with where there is a concentration of that population residing, and then also looking at trustee area 5 at 54.7% Hispanic or Latino total population, are I think the two most significant numbers that we've looked at in some other maps a few different times. Socioeconomically, you have that information and just how these are more or less balanced, which I leave to the board in your discussion of how that affects your opinion of the maps. And with that, I'm happy to answer questions, and we can also get into hearing from any one of the people who would like to express their views. Thank you.
Yeah, I haven't rubbed our skin yet.
Yeah, this is part, yeah, I do.
I've already read it before.
Okay, this is a different area.
Okay.
This is agendized item.
Okay.
Oh,
No, she didn't read that for the agendized item.
yes, this is the California, it's a public hearing, so, yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right, items posted on the agenda. Under the Brown Act, the board shall entertain comments on any item appearing on the posted agenda as the board discusses agenda items. Audience participation is permitted. Generally, the president will ask the board members for their remarks before recognizing requests to speak from the audience. At the president's discretion, agenda items may be considered in other than numerical order. The board will respect the rights of the public to express their viewpoints on matters within the board's jurisdiction. However, comments that are defamatory or that violate the privacy rights of any students or individuals may not be protected by law. The board shall not permit any disturbance or willful interruption of board meetings.
Okay, thank you. Harjit Singh.
Good evening, board. I know it's been a long evening. I'm just here today to listen. Thank you, Mr. Murray, for the presentation. I appreciate you taking all the feedback, creating new maps and more options. So I really appreciate you taking that. Yeah, I look forward to looking through the data and seeing the maps, and also encouraging community members to give public comment through the online system. And yeah, the next meeting we'll run on the maps. Yeah, I don't have much more to add. I just have a few questions that could maybe be answered. I know there's a portal for community members to submit comments specifically on maps. So I wanted to ask if community members are submitting input there, how will that data and information be shared with the board? Will it be shared at the meeting, or will they have access to it before, just so that the board is also seeing what community members are thinking? And yeah, I'm here to hear from anyone else who wanted to speak. I know at last meeting there was discussion of like other community members, any input they have, so I'm here today to listen. Thank you all for taking the input so far, and I look forward to sharing recommendations at the next meeting.
So, Rob, the question is, or the administration here, did we receive any input from other community leaders?
We have not received any through the portal.
We haven't received any. That's been pretty difficult.
So like, just quick clarify, so if before next meeting, someone has a preference for a map and they submit it on the portal, will board members be given that information prior to the meeting?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But I mean, what I'm asking is the next board meeting is the 22nd. Don't wait till midnight the 21st. We need to have time to look at it, okay?
Perfect.
Thank you. The next speaker is Everest.
Right there.
Everyone, thank you for allowing time for us to speak. Just similar to what Harjeet is saying, would love to look through the data of these different maps and then have a conversation, listen in, and then making those decisions for the next meeting. So just wanted to echo Harjeet and thank the board for and Rob for creating, Mr. Murray for creating these maps for us and taking community input is much appreciated.
And we certainly appreciate you coming, but as I'm strongly suggesting that you take the time to look at those maps and be ready with your feedback, because the purpose of the next meeting is to vote. And so the boards can only take feedback up to a certain time. So we will accept, I believe, if that's the pleasure of the board, some feedback on the 22nd, but our agenda is to vote.
Okay. And just to make that easier, can we release the new maps and the data as soon as possible on the website?
Yes.
Since we didn't have access to it before.
Superintendent said yeah.
Um,
And when can we expect it, just so we like?
Well, no.
Yes, we'll have it posted as soon as the meeting is over for tomorrow.
And Superintendent said she'll have them posted tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have anyone else or a board member that wishes to make any comments during the Voting Rights Act public hearing? Jasmine?
I have two things. One, can you tell me just an overview of what each map's variance is, please? So, no, you had like a chart. Was it at the bottom?
Can't read it. You couldn't see it.
No, can you, but I don't wanna like look at for each area, I just wanna know overall for A, what's the variance, B, what's the variance, C, orange, blue, green. I just wanna know overall what the variances are.
For each area.
For
Right.
each map.
For each map, sorry.
Yeah, I have a related comment. Can you actually post that when you post the data tomorrow? Actually post all the charts yet, which we don't have on our handout.
Rob, would you go over the variance for each map?
Yes,
Just
I've
say
got.
what- Oh, okay. It's on the bottom, I thought it was, okay.
Yeah, we just don't have.
Can you just leave that on for a second?
Yeah, of course, happy to.
Okay. I'll write it down.
I have mine. She's writing them down.
I told the copy.
Okay, we will have it PowerPoint
Yeah.
posted as well.
That'd be good. Yeah, then post the card.
Jasmine, they're gonna post the PowerPoint as well.
While they jot that down, Shelley has her hand up and then I have a comment, but Shelley's had her hand up, so.
Well, she might have, but I can't see her. Shelley?
Yeah, I just want to jump in on top of anybody.
Your time to jump.
Okay, so I appreciate Jasmine. That was one of my questions, but I have two others. In looking at the orange map, it seems to me that the new trustee area 4 only has one school in it, and it doesn't seem like the schools are very evenly distributed, and it has a fairly high variance. My other question, and this is my real concern, we have a total, I think now, of 6 maps. Are we going to try to narrow this down? Because it could easily be 1 vote for each with only 1 map getting 2 votes. So are we going to try and narrow this down before we vote next time?
That's what my comment was going to be to follow up on Shelley. No offense to green or purple, but I don't think we've given green or purple any love in our meetings. We've talked a lot about blue, added variants of blue, and now we have orange. I would propose taking green and purple off the table if no one is considering those presently.
Well,
Yes, the board can start to eliminate maps if you're not, and again, you have not really engaged with some of the maps, and so it would be appropriate for the board to start to look at.
I would personally like some time to analyze it before we eliminating.
And
There's
then
not that
phone
many
in,
now.
and then phone in, or come in and tell them which ones you want eliminated, and,
Yeah, I mean, I assume we'll have a process of like eliminating them at our next meeting as we vote on them.
yeah, but I think what we're saying is we wanna focus on the ones that we all agree we wanna keep.
Yeah, I just haven't analyzed them in depth yet, that's all. But if you guys wish to, one vote.
Okay, what's the pleasure?
I think it would be appropriate to,
We're not ready, I'm not ready to eliminate them right now.
I mean, I will be at the next meeting, obviously.
So what you're recommending is that all of the maps will come forward for the vote for consideration.
Well, no, that's not what I'm saying, I agree with Jasmine and Nico, but I don't think it's fair to ask other board members to start eliminating this, because they're not prepared to do it. So how do we get those preferences for elimination to Doreen so that they don't show up on the 22nd?
well, I think it has to happen here.
Yeah.
It has to happen
Paul's
right
saying
here,
it has to happen
public meeting.
Okay, so can we all be prepared to eliminate maps at the, oh, what's the pleasure? What do you want to proceed with eliminating them now?
I would.
I don't, but it's up to you.
I agree.
I mean, I'm okay with it, if you guys wanna do it. It's,
Yes, Paul?
First thing.
In my experience, typically, there is a process of narrowing that takes place. It doesn't always happen that way. I've also seen it happen at the final meeting. But it usually is a matter of a motion is made for a specific map. So if a member says, I am not interested in purple map, they might make a motion saying, I would move that the board remove the purple map from consideration. The motion can be seconded and a vote if that is how the board chooses to act. The final adoption of the map has to happen, with a very specific agenda item and we come forward, I presume, at the next meeting. But anything short of that, you can move as a board, you can direct staff to remove options.
The problem with that is I can bet dollars to donuts that when we start eliminating maps, the public's gonna say we haven't seen them all. So are we gonna, I know we've done our best to invite people, and anyway, that's just my opinion. What do you guys wanna do?
We have to eliminate them all except for one, starting next meeting. I think our engagement with the public, there hasn't really been much discussion at all about green and purple. It's revolved around the variants of blue.
We haven't been here yet.
And now the creation of orange.
What public?
Well, this public.
A few people have been there.
I know we've heard from
Well,
Steve, I believe. I mean, we've heard from various people, the public that have been here. And I would make a motion that we strike green and purple just because it hasn't really been discussed or.
If I may, in my
I'll second
experience,
it.
time, not in groups.
Okay, then I would make a
Because I
motion.
think it introduces a lot of variables.
I make a motion to strike green then on.
Can I just ask a clarifying question? Can we make a motion on an item that's not an action item?
You can make a motion to eliminate maps from consideration.
Okay.
And to direct staff to remove that item from consideration. For technically speaking, it wouldn't prevent, the board from bringing one back at the final meeting. So you're not taking final action on the map until the final meeting. So if there was a change of heart and the board at the final meeting said, you know what, purple, we've heard a lot in support of purple, we didn't expect that. So someone could say, we'd like to have purple back on the table. You could do that at the final meeting. This is just an organizational, much as you offer.
I hear what you're saying, Paul. The problem that I have with that is we're going by 3 members of the community that showed up. They can't speak for the rest of the community. We don't know if the rest of the community is gonna come forth next week. I have a problem with eliminating maps, and we're leaving ourselves open for people to say they didn't see them. Now, they may not. The participation here has shown they probably won't. But you're saying we've heard from the community, and you're pointing to 3 people that have showed up consistently.
I'm also talking about our discussion as a board. I don't think board members have shown interest in green and purple anywhere near the level we've shown in the variance of blue.
I don't think the board's really discussed any maps at all. Can I comment on actually what you said?
Oh, yeah.
If we eliminate it today, then really we wouldn't post it, and if we didn't post it, we cannot bring it back.
Well, they've all been posted for public consideration for the requisite length of time. Including, I think, I'm not sure that, except for perhaps the orange map, has not yet been posted for 7 days, I believe, so it will need to be posted for at least 7 days.
I don't know, to me, just to be open with the public, I would only consider what we post, whatever, on the 14th, whatever. To me, that's really the only valid map, whatever we posted now. Right, just because it looks publicly correct. I mean, it would be bad to bring back a map that we took off and then bring it back, and that just seems like you're abusing power.
I would say it's board option, but
Jasmine,
I'd like to second Nico's motion.
I think Shelley already did.
She seconded.
I believe I did.
Yeah.
Which one are you eliminating?
So I motioned for green and purple, and then on the advice of legal counsel, I made a motion for one map rather than grouping them together.
Which one?
So,
First.
Okay, he needs to understand.
The first one I made was green and purple, Shelley seconded that on the advice of legal counsel.
Okay, what's the motion on the table now, please? We need another motion, obviously, if legal counsel said.
can I make a proposal to address Sark's concern, which I think, for purposes of clarity for the public, is what I'm hearing, is that the concern is that the public may not see those maps. You can still nonetheless ask staff to go ahead and post all the maps, continue to post all the maps. What it does when you simplify by having the board vote to not focus on essentially maps in which there doesn't appear to be great support, is it simplifies the final discussion. It tells the public what the focus is going to be at the final meeting. It gives board members an opportunity to focus themselves on the maps that are really under consideration and to do more in-depth analysis of those particular, if there's, for example, 2 that seem to generate the most interest, then board members are likely to focus their attention and analysis on those. But you can still have those up.
Is that your understanding of what we're doing? Or your perception of what we're doing?
So I think the concern was that if you remove them, and in other words, if you remove them from consideration as the primary focus for the board, that it would somehow eliminate the public's ability to have interest in those maps or to even consider bringing them back later. That would not be, because it's not an action item, I agree that those maps could still be up for consideration if the board had a change of heart, if they heard public comment that suddenly generated a great deal of interest in one of those maps that was removed. The board can bring those back. The conversation is not closed until you vote on a final map. That's all I'm trying to see.
Supposed to be whatever value you're removing with that. I mean, it seems like it's just an arbitrary thing right now. We can override it.
I think it's just up to the board how you want to organize. I'm sure.
Is Shelley still trying to ask a question, or is she still her hand up on the screen?
Yeah, I still have my hand up.
Oh, okay.
I'm just wondering, is Nicolo's original motion that I seconded, is it still a motion?
Yeah, why don't we just vote on that?
Okay, we have a motion and a second to remove purple and green.
What do you got?
Roll call.
One at a time.
I know, so let's just, if
So
we
we'd have
one at a
to-
time, we just vote no.
Let's vote no on this, and then you can do one at a time. Let's get the motion out of the way, right?
Laura, the motion currently that we're voting on is to remove purple map and orange.
No, green and purple.
And purple. Would you give a roll call vote, please?
Member Betticavoli?
Yes.
Yes. Member Domi?
Yes.
Member Roscoe?
Yes.
Member Pretty?
Yes.
Member Quilty?
So we're voting to remove 2. So I'll say no, because legal counsel said do one at a time, so no.
Let's fund the passing.
No.
Member Chikar?
No, voting no on everything.
President Riley?
I don't
No.
think we should live.
Motion passes.
Motion passes.
So for the time being, purple and green are coming up, right? Okay.
I would like to make an additional motion.
Yes,
I'd like to make a motion that we also remove blue map B because it has the highest amount of variance of any of the maps.
I'll second.
You're gonna make it like one, confusing a meeting.
blue map.
I thought we just, did you just remove them?
No, we removed purple and
My motion would allow blue A, blue C, and orange to move forward.
Can we discuss something?
yeah.
I would recommend we at least leave a few for us to consider, guys, because there's maybe too many. That's my recommendation. Otherwise, it looks like we're basically having our decision right
Well, yeah.
now. So that's just my recommendation. I would vote no on all of them.
There's a motion and a second on the floor.
Okay, the motion was
Move, no.
moved by Shelley to remove blue B, and the second was Jasmine. Roll call, please.
Member Domi?
Yes.
Member Cavoli?
No.
Member Roscoe?
Yes.
Member Pretty?
Yes.
Member Quilty?
No.
Member Jakar?
No.
President Riley?
No,
Thank you.
that motion does not pass. Any other comments? So we will, Mr. Gant's advice, which I think was confusing, we will remove blue D,
No, we're leaving that one, we're just removing purple and green.
purple and green at this time.
Mhm.
And as he said, that does not preclude members from bringing it back up. I think it was,
I'd like to make a motion.
yes.
I'd like to make a motion asking the administrator to post all the maps publicly still.
Yeah, we won't take anything down. It doesn't
My
need a motion,
recommendation.
so this, based upon what was said, all maps will stay on and the PowerPoint will be presented and the data points.
Okay, good. I'd like to see the data.
Is there any other business for the California Voting Rights Act public hearing? Hearing none, the public hearing is closed. Thank you for your comments. Do we have any comments from the public not on the agenda? It's time for the consent agenda.
I'd like to make a motion that we pass the consent agenda.
Was there an item, Mr. Reed or Scott, that you were pulling from the consent agenda?
No, it's from the action.
All right, okay. I need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'd like to make a motion that we could approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second that motion.
We have a motion by Mr. Takar and a second by Mr. Roscoe to approve the consent agenda. Roll call vote, Laura?
Member Cavoli?
Yes.
Member Domi?
Yes.
Member Roscoe?
Yes.
Member Pretty?
Yes.
Member Quilty?
Yes.
Member Jakar?
Yes.
President Riley?
Yes.
Thank you.
On the action items, there's been a request by administration to pull which items?
Item 12E. We'll bring it back at the next board meeting.
Are there any other items that any member wishes pulled? Hearing none, we'll take item A, expulsions and suspended contracts.
I make a motion that we accept as discussed in closed session.
I'll second.
A motion by Mr. Roscoe and a second by Ms. Dami to approve 12A as discussed in closed session. Laura?
Member Cavoli?
Yes.
Member Domi?
Yes.
Member Roscoe?
Yes.
Member Pretty?
Yes.
Member Quilty?
Yes.
Member Jakar?
Yes.
President Riley?
Yes.
Thank you.
12B, approval of Andrew Caprera's kitchen mechanical contract.
I make a motion that we approve 12B.
Like to second that?
A motion by member Betta Cavoli and a second by member Chakard to approve 12B.
Member Betta Cavoli,
Yes.
member Johnny,
Yes.
member Roscoe,
Yes.
member Pretty,
Yes.
member Quilty,
Yes.
member Jakar,
Yes.
President Riley.
Yes.
Thank you.
12C, approval of and if you have questions, please let me know. Approval of district office roofing contract.
Make a motion to approve.
Greg made a motion to approve. Who had the second?
I had a question.
Okay, let me was there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's open for discussion.
My question is, and I saw it in the earlier presentation too, I understand like roof pitch, right? So some of the, facilities that we have a flat pitch. So the only alternative is to do the type of recommendation that you're proposing. How come we don't do like tile roof?
Well,
I understand
it's
that.
Yeah, it's both weight bearing and expense.
Okay,
So
on the portable buildings,
What's that?
commercial stuff that we do.
on the, portable buildings, right?
Yeah, so what we do is a built-up roof system, which really gives you longevity, durability, it's a good system. On this one, it's actually not, we can't really modify the slope because the roof deck is the roof structure. So we have to go on top of that without replacing all the trusses,
Yeah,
replacing the roof structure itself. So this is the most feasible option.
okay. We're just thinking about durability,
Yeah,
longevity
and I
wise.
look at that every time we do a roof, that's why I'm.
Well, I'm sure you look at that.
Okay.
That's why we look at built-up roof systems and stuff, because you do get more durability.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
We have a motion by Mr. Rusko, or Mr. Quilty, and a second by Mr. Rusko. Roll call please to approve item 12C.
Member Betta Cavoli,
Yes.
member Johnny,
Yes.
member Roscoe,
Yep.
member Pretty,
Yes.
member Quilty,
Yes.
member Jakar,
Yes.
President Riley.
Yes.
Thank you.
Make a motion that we approve 12D.
Second it.
Motion to approve 12D by member Betta Cavoli, second by member Chakard. Please.
Member Betta Cavoli,
Yes.
member Johnny,
Yes.
member Roscoe,
Yes.
member Pretty,
Yes.
member Quilty,
Yes.
member Jakar,
Yes.
President Riley.
Yes.
Thank you.
We pulled 12E, so we'll proceed with 12S, the first reading of proposed revisions to YCOSD board policies, administrative regs, board bylaws, and exhibits.
I have a question.
Yes.
Sure.
Sorry. The question I asked, this is supposed to be earlier today, I think it's this one, when it talks about the SST meetings and the rules, who's responsible, for lack of a better word, for those meetings and whether they're adhered to, the things that are within the SSTs and 504s, whose responsibility ultimately does that fall on?
So ultimately it would be the district office, but at the site, it would be the site administration that would be responsible for the implementation and the creation of the 504s. Staff is involved, but ultimately it's responsibility of administration.
And that also includes SST meetings?
Correct, in terms of them occurring and scheduled, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Are these all of TSG or when?
Yes.
I make a motion that we approve the first reading.
We don't need a motion to do.
You know, it's the first read. If you wanted to, you would waive the second reading and then you would take action.
I'd like to make a motion that we waive the second reading of these meetings, of these
Proposed
changes,
revisions.
proposed revisions. Second. I guess not, we'll come back to next week.
Dies for lack of a second. 12G, authorization of, it's saying are we gonna meet remotely or?
Right, so you'll have the chapter resolution designating that you believe that it requires virtual meetings, teleconference meetings due to the safety during the emergency pandemic.
There was some clarification that we received. Would you mind expanding on that for me?
Correct. Oh, yes. So I was clarifying, there was a question that was brought forward at the last meeting regarding the adoption of AB 361 and what it means in terms of flexibility. The full board is making the decision that you believe that it requires the resolution be adopted. And therefore, some of the Brown Act requirements are a bit more flexible. However, board members not in attendance would be due to quarantine. If you are not attending because of just
You're in Hawaii.
Shelley's Hawaii, you would have to follow the Brown Act requirements. So it does not allow all of the flexibility, but it does allow some flexibility. But again, your first would be adopting the resolution that you believe that there still continues to be a need to have virtual meetings, and then that clarification.
So would the intent be to continue as we are unless there is
There's a need to.
As needed.
Okay.
Then I would make a motion that we approve the resolution to authorize teleconference.
I'll second it.
Motion by Mr. Roscoe and a second by Mr. Packard to approve 12G. Roll call, please.
Member Bellicavoli?
Yes.
Member Domi?
Yes.
Member Roscoe?
Yes.
Member Pretty?
Yes.
Member Quilty?
Yes.
Member Chakar?
Yeah.
President Riley?
Yes.
Thank you.
That completes the action items. Board reports and information discussion. I think the facilities speaks for itself.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Bentley and Mr. Button, for your presentation and help tonight.
Are there any other committee reports? Well, the personnel committee list. Never mind, it was pulled. Okay. Communications, do we have, Ms. Clerk, do we have any written communications from the public?
No.
Comments from employee representative, Mercy, you go first.
She pointed to me. I was like, well, first to that.
But you guys are matching, how did you do that?
Good luck. She was being on campus today, okay? Yeah, I was on campus, so it was just telepathy. So, thank you, it's getting a little late, so we'll be short.
You always say that.
Yeah, and I don't mind, so don't even start. So let's start with, we finalized our negotiations for the 2020 through 2022 school years. And that's currently in what CSEA is better known as the 610 process, because that's our policy 610 that goes to Sacramento and it gets all through our field office to get approved. It'll come back for ratification of our chapter and then to you, the board, to approve. So we appreciate that. Unfortunately, we weren't able to procure any kind of stipend for COVID relief for our workers who are extremely overworked and stressed out beyond belief. So we recognize that we have offered extra hours, extra time to work, and we do appreciate that because that is needed, but they're really, really stressed out and kind of on their breaking point. So we want to be careful that we're not, stretching our staff a little bit too thin. I'm so excited that, we talk about the transitional kindergarten and expanding. That bill came about from a classified employee who brought forward to one of our conferences that we wanted our lobbyists to bring that forward to expand that. So that was a directly caused because CSEA got out there and showed action. So we're out there for our students. We want to make sure that, from the little ones all the way up are being served and that we're bettering the lives of the students, the members, our members, and our community. We'll be taking part in the Have a Heart for Run 5K. Have a Heart for Kids. Late. I'm a little tired now. Have a Heart for Kids run and volunteering as we usually do, and we're looking forward to that. And I don't know. Oh, facilities. Yes. I remember when you closed those facilities, and it hurt my heart. I remember that we had, my son was in Cub Scout or Boy Scouts, and we were at Lincoln School, and every day when we went to the meeting, there was always a group in on the blacktop playing basketball. All the basketball courts were just filled with kids and young adults and, not too much little, usually high school kids, they left when it was done. And it was so sad when they closed those, and it was really a detriment to our community. So knowing that you were going to take action and look into this for our community, I think is so, so important.
Thank you. Tina?
Good evening, board members, members of the public, anybody out there still listening and
Right.
staff. I'm Vita Lucas, president of the Yuba City Teachers Association. I had a couple of items I'd like to address. I did have an additional question with regards to the facilities report, and that it was getting long. So if we could see, and again, I don't ask that it be projected right now, where those RVHS new classrooms will be installed. It looked as though on the map there was a red zone that had multiple outlines and perhaps 4 classrooms.
Correct.
Okay. And it looks like there's planning to actually bring in classrooms that would actually address the full need of RVHS. I would be remiss not to remind us all of the tremendous need at River Valley High School to have adequate classroom space for all teachers and classes. We have teachers roving from classroom to classroom to classroom, teaching their content area in 3 different classrooms. Science teachers teaching in math rooms who have 7 minutes to gather their stuff, quick pack, move it to the next room. In our tech age, that's really demanding, and it really does impact the quality of instruction that they can provide. So I do hope that we will continue to make tremendous efforts to assure that there are adequate classroom space for all the teachers at River Valley High School. And then as you consider your options to open your school campus, I appreciate knowing that there's a plan for Lincoln, Lynncrest, and April Lane to be open. I appreciate that it used to be wide open. So I understand, at midnight mischief can happen unless mischief happens in the daylight. So I do appreciate that plan. I would suggest that this board, as you move forward on this, might want to consider the AK West Walton playground. I taught at AK back when it was still being built, and we were, believe it or not, back in 1989. AK opened with some of our students at Lincoln School, some of our students at St. Andrews, and some of our students on campus, and even in the second year we were still that way. So I do remember we've gotten better at how we open these schools. But I do also remember when West Walton then opened, there was all these community discussions and promises that that park there was going to be a community park, and you promised at the time access to all. I acknowledge that yes, our city planners could do a better job of planning parks. I born in New York City, where plan to have Central Park really does make a difference. So I do agree that our city planners need to incorporate more park area, but I do think this is a tremendous investment we make in our community. So I appreciate your consideration as you move forward in this action. With regards to TK, the expansion of TK, one of the outcomes of this expansion of TK is we have preschool teachers who are now excited and working towards this option of TK as opposed to the preschool classrooms they currently teach in, and are currently working on their multiple subject credentials, so they will be able to fill some of those positions in TK. So these are exciting times as those folks step up to ensure additional education to serve our students in transitional kindergarten classes. Appreciate Mercedes' mention of YCEF. The Yuba City Education Foundation does a tremendous job of problem solving for our students and helping to be partners in addressing the needs of our students. Do want to report to you that YCTA has acted to become a sponsor for the YCF Have a Heart for Kids walk. So we are proud to be working with that organization as we move forward. And then finally, I'd like to address that the basic premise that all Yuba City Unified employees have stepped up. They've stepped up to work beyond their expected job duties. Nobody's doing the job we thought we were taking on 2 years ago. And this district has tremendous staff that really has stepped up. Our students have stepped up, our students have struggled, and these have been difficult times. So I do think it's important to remember all that we have done. I just specifically want to highlight YCTA members who have stepped up to serve our students in quarantine. Many students have spent many hours in excess of the paid time to serve our students who are in quarantine. Their goal being to allow students to maintain a continuity of instruction. Their goal has been to prevent the learning loss that we know went along with sending our kids home. Their goal has been to keep kids in our classrooms safe and learning. They posted assignments to Google Classrooms to support absent students. We don't teach in Google Classrooms anymore. We teach kids in our rooms, thank goodness, it is so much better. But they do duplicate their work by posting to Google Classroom. That requires extra work. They gather packets of work for our youngest learners who are still working out of consumable books. They send those packets home. But in addition to that, they don't just send packets of work home. In order to support students to learn in our classrooms, we actually have to support them in other ways than just sending work home. They've opened Google Meets for students to help them. Some of our teachers have opened Google Meets every day. It's particularly important in like 5th grade when you're trying to help support students to learn math, so that they can actually access the material they missed in the classroom. Some students have engaged in after-school in-person tutoring with students after they return to school. All of this has resulted in extra work. All of this has been our hope to do the best intervention we can to prevent learning loss. And the best intervention comes from your teachers working in your classroom with your students. The best intervention comes from the credentialed teachers here in California, in Yuba City, for our students here in Yuba City. We want to be able to continue to do that and have done so with pride to serve the students of Yuba City Unit 5. So I thank you tonight for the time to be able to address you about issues that are particularly pertinent to us right now. And I hope that as we move forward on this week off in February, that we return with continued diminishing case counts and the opportunity to have more kids in our classroom and get back to normal. I too would love to be able to see the smiling faces of my students in my classroom. So I hope you all have a good, week off. So
Thank you. Any comments before?
Yes, we gotta leave.
I have a question and a comment. Is it possible that we start getting some dates for the board priorities and governance meetings sent out? And then also, I do know that some of the site administrators have stated that the students and staff can pick up COVID tests on Friday before the break. Are we going to be doing something over the week, like the weekend before we come back?
Yes, so that was something I was going to share. So we have the rapid antigens test that families will be able to have. It's 1 box and 2 tests in them. We're asking families and staff to test the 24 hours before, so that would be Monday the 21st before return. So those will be available on, some are actually starting pickups over the next few days, and then Friday as well.
Will there be any over the break? Any opportunity to pick up tests over the break?
Probably what we would do is have them available here in the district office, because most of the campuses will be closed.
Okay.
So we can make that available.
Thank you.
Any other comments from
Friday.
board members?
Is that for staff too?
Correct.
Okay,
Students and
I
staff.
haven't heard about that yet.
Yes, so that's coming, guys. They just went out today.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other board member comments? I want to thank everybody for talking to me about the loss of my daughter, and I will say it addresses the fact that you need to get vaccinated. She was not and refused to do it. And Michigan is the Midwest, but it's not as safe as I guess she thought. So but she's very strong in her faith, and so she's exactly where she wants to be and needs to be. But she had called me a week before and said, "Pray for me, Mom, because I just came to ER and they're going to admit me." And so 2 days after that, she was on a ventilator, and then she was gone. So it was quick, and I wasn't able to get back. That's one reason I'm here. But we're going to have a celebration of life in the spring. So thank you for those of you who reached out to me. I appreciate it. It's been a real difficult time, especially on Nicole and her brother. Nicole's here. So a lot of people didn't know we had other children. We just went around the world collecting kids. So we have one from the Philippines, and we have Lou, who was from Scotland. So thank you. Superintendent?
Yes, we have a government liaison meeting February 10th, this Thursday at 3 p.m. Member Riley, Member Donnie, and Member Roscoe are part of the government liaison. So that meeting is scheduled for Thursday the 10th. And as shared, the Have a Heart for Kids Run is scheduled for February 26th at River Valley High School, so if you're interested, they'll be there.
Government liaison is Thursday at what time, I'm sorry?
3 o'clock.
3, okay. That's just for the committee? Yeah. Unless there's something else, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by member Roscoe and a second by member Dami to adjourn. Laura?
Member Cavoli?
Yes.
Member Dami?
Yes.
Member Roscoe?
Yes.
Member Pretty?
Yes, please.
Wiltie?
No. No.
President Riley?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Why is Dan Flores grinning? Find out noon Wednesday. It's a new show. That's right, a new show here on Yuba-Sutter.live. Lunch with Langdell. We've got food. And sometimes the inside scoop. Lunch with Langdell, noon Wednesday here on Yuba-Sutter.live. Yuba-Sutter.live's local government live streams are presented by Plumas Lake Self-Storage in Plumas Lake, where lifelong local residents are helping other residents keep things safe, providing indoor storage units, outdoor RV and vehicle parking, moving supplies, and Penske truck rentals. Details at plumaslakeselfstorage.com.